Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Downline Podcast. Ethan, how are we doing on this fine Friday?
We're doing great.
Hey, man,
We are doing great.
we're doing wonderful. We're doing wonderful. So, we're another week into the season, another week into May. We got some things to talk about. You know where I want to start, Ethan? We were sending a few back and forth from each other this week. We've had some
Yeah.
incidents this week across the league. We've had some incidents.
Yes, we have.
Which one do you want to start with? I'll let you pick which one we start with. There's like
Yeah,
I guess
so
there's
I
three of
think we
them.
should start with the major league one because that's the one everyone's more familiar with, I would
Well, yeah.
imagine.
To be fair, there was two major league ones, but I get what you're saying. The big one,
Oh
the
well,
big one,
yes,
the big one, the big one.
of the two that were on the same day.
Oh yeah, true. Those were okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I forgot those were on the same day. The two that you're talking about. Yeah, we'll start with the big one. The fucking Framber Valdez thing. Crazy. This guy allowed. What was it? It was what 10-2 in like the fourth inning or something like that. Gives up the
Yeah,
home run to make it 10-2, and
back to back home runs.
and then he throws to the next guy. His first four seamer of the year, by the way.
Yeah.
First four seamer of the
Um.
year. And
Yeah, I saw a thing where it was showing that in the last couple seasons he has thrown two four seam fastballs. He has hit batters with both of
but
them.
both that makes a little too much sense. You know what? You know what's really funny? I found on that.
Yeah,
Did you see the post game interviews of those at
I
all?
did not.
So
I saw what Hinch was
so
saying.
yeah, Hinch was like, yeah, man,
Oh
like
yeah,
yeah, obviously that, but Framber had his, and he's like, man, he basically tried to fend it off, play it off, say it wasn't intentional. It's like, man, come on, what are we doing? Like, listen, at a certain point, you can't I don't know who. With all due respect, I don't know who Framber thinks he's fooling. Um, you know what I mean? Sometimes you get pissed off, you hit a guy, whatever. But let's be for real with ourselves. I think we're smart enough to understand who this is, right? You remember there was the catcher thing last year.
yeah,
Cross with the catcher, and then you know that happened. Um, Obviously, the situation where he gives a back to back, he's frustrated or whatever, and then it's his first four seam of the year. You said what his second four seam of his whole career, and it happened to hit somebody too. Like, I don't know what we think we're doing, bro. Um, Listen, that's like that's childish too, man. Like in that situation, listen, it's one thing if like one of your guys gets hit and you think it's intentional, whether it actually is or it isn't. You think it's intentional and you kind of throw back at the other team. I don't love it.
yeah,
I don't love that one either. But I mean, like at least I can kind of understand that one. This one, it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing, bro? Like, what's the point of this?
yeah. And I mean, it becomes especially more, you know, jarring when it's like, especially from what happened last season. You could make the argument like, yeah, whatever, it was a mistake, like it was unintentional. But looking at this, I don't want to speak on him as a person because obviously I don't know. But it does say, maybe that he did cross up his catcher intentionally last season after this because it just seems from the outside he's someone who lets his emotions get the best of him,
Mm-hmm.
and in those situations are unable to stay calm and just kind of move on to the next thing. He kind of reacts in that way, and that is a good thing and bad thing. It's a bad thing because obviously hitting guys after home runs is a terrible look, but you do want your guys showing emotion, showing they care. He wasn't throwing at him because you know he thinks that they're bad or something. He's throwing at them because he's frustrated in his own performance and he hates losing, hates giving up those home runs. So if you're able, there's a fine line between being emotional and just losing control, and he's got to find that line.
Yeah, because especially when you get to a point where the games get a little bigger, right?
Yeah,
We just can't be doing that. You know what I mean? We can't be doing that in September or August if we're playing meaningful games. Well, I say meaningful. Every game is meaningful, but when you're really competing for a playoff spot and things are a lot more intense, right? You know,
Yeah.
we can't really be doing that in those situations. Now, I guess you can make the argument and just say, well, it's May and it's not August, whatever, who cares? But, you know what I mean? We could just simply not do it at all. I think it's pretty easy. I don't know. I don't think it's that hard to not throw it, guys. You know what I mean? I didn't really think too... Like, I didn't think as much about the crossing up the catcher thing in like, the same way that you were talking about. Like, oh, he must have done it intentionally. I didn't really think about it in that sense. But, like, you're right. Because it's like, too many things are happening here for it to just be like a coincidence, right? Because I think we talked about it when it happened, and we were like, I don't know, man, that was weird. That was really weird, and you know, we didn't really go too deep into it because we're like, you know, who fucking knows, right? Like, we're not there,
right?
But now it's like, you know, this happens too, and it's like, you know, again, we're not in the guy's head, but it's like, you know. Where like I'm on my James Dokes right now. Like, you know, I'm watching you. Like I know what you are. Type of thing. Which, again, man, imagine being like who was it that got hit? It was Trevor Story, right?
Yeah.
Imagine being Trevor Story. You know, you're two guys. You go back to back. You know, you're going up. You're just doing your thing. It's the fourth inning. It's early.
I like Trevor's Story. But right now his on base percentage is 242. I think he was probably thanking him for it.
He probably was.
Honestly.
I was thinking it's like, you know, imagine you're just ready to go up, you have another IB. Guy just first pitch, boom, right? And, you know, obviously first pitches, you know, hit people sometimes on accident, but with one like that, you're just like, what the hell? And then the bench is clear too, and it's a whole thing. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Bench clears have always been have been weird to me, because on one hand it's like a lot of them happen for really weird reasons, but also, I'm not gonna lie, I've always wanted to witness a bench clearer in person. I can't lie. I don't know why, it just seems
They're
like
fun.
it'd be really fun. I've never witnessed one in person. As long as I've been going to games, as many as I've went to, never seen a bench clear. Not once, not one time.
Game 5 ALDS 2015.
That would have been one. That would have been a bench clear, because that happened right at the end of the inning, because
benches cleared in Game 7 of the World Series. Like,
yeah, that was great. That was great.
Yeah.
Man. Well, everything a lot of things that happened after that wasn't great, but that's
issuing the warnings was kind of crazy, though. I'm not gonna lie.
What do you mean? Oh,
yeah, Game 7 of the World Series, and you're issuing warnings after, like, it wasn't like it was an actual bench clearing brawl. They just came onto the field. It's not like they were throwing haymakers. They literally just gathered at the field. That's why it's like,
because they're coming on. They're like, whoa, like, what are we doing?
It's Game 7. Let's relax.
Yeah,
you know, let them
we're
play.
not intentionally throwing guys in Game 7. I'm gonna ask you. Do you remember? There was this one. I don't even remember if it was a bench clear, but I know that guys got warned. It was just Blue Jays Royals. It was a regular season game, like 2015.
Yeah,
July, whatever.
And then Aaron Sanchez threw at a guy. He's like just threw at the guy's legs, a weak pitch.
It was like near, because it was.
I think it was, and got
I think
thrown.
Like the other pitches were like outside.
But like Bautista and Donaldson were getting thrown at their heads and nothing, and then one pitch to the legs and he's tossed.
Dude,
it was one of the worst umpire games ever.
Dude, do you remember the call on that one too? Buck Martinez like, man, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he's like, no, you can't do that. You can't throw him out of the game.
You can't throw him out of the game. Man, dude, that was, I don't know, I thought of that one because I'm like, sometimes when the warnings get issued, sometimes they're on some BS after the warnings get issued. I can't lie.
Yeah.
Like, there's some nonsense that be going around.
But it's funny because it's not like after the warnings the Royals stopped. They still were throwing at heads.
They still were doing it, and it didn't matter. Which I think is funny. There was another one. It was between it was the Pirates and the Reds. I actually didn't see this one. I saw stuff about it, but I didn't actually watch the. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the thing, so I don't fully know what it was. I know Davinsky got a small suspension for it. I know the managers. Also, actually, you know what? I want to ask you a question here.
Yeah.
So, every time that, something like this happens, right? Guys are potentially throwing at each other, guys are thrown out of games, suspended, whatever. The managers are always suspended, right? But like,
Yeah,
on
for
a
the most
certain
part.
level, it's like I don't think. Now I'm sure in some cases, yeah, but in a lot of cases, like the managers aren't telling their guys to
Yeah,
go up and beam
I
him. I
mean,
don't think AJ Hinch was telling Framber, yeah, go beam Trevor Story, right? Like,
yeah, so
obviously
obviously
not.
not.
I don't know. I've always found that it's
But
automatic. You know what I mean?
yes, so like that's why I'm okay with it for it being automatic because it's like it's not like it's a pick and shoot situation. It's every single time it happens. Which
Yeah, I guess.
look, it's definitely it looks worse on the player than does the manager because as the player, you're responsible for your manager being suspended, and they're not going to take that lightly. They're not going to be like, "Oh, it's okay, you did what you had to do." It's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Exactly. Yeah, because some of it, man. I don't know. Like, on one hand, you're right. Like, if it was a pick and choose situation, it would. I don't think it would go over really well with a lot of
No,
people. But I mean, also at the same time, it's like you get a situation where I don't know. Now, granted, maybe he was just saying this for the fucking media, or whatever. But AJ Hinch
but
is
that's
like,
what I mean. Like, even if you don't, if even if it's not intentional, or even if it was intentional, it's so easy as a manager to come out and say, "No, that's not that doesn't belong in
yeah,
baseball." Like obviously they're not going to support it. Like I'm not going to say that
yeah, they're never going
even
to.
AJ Hinch was secretly like what, but like it's so easy to mean one thing and say a completely another thing.
True.
Anyone
We
can do
we
that.
we
Anyone can
we
just
see
lie. Duh.
we see GMs, managers, they do it all the time, right? There was
Athletes too, like, oh, I'm
yeah,
committed to this place. I want to be here my whole career, and then they
yep,
request a trade the next year. They sign in free agency a
yep.
couple weeks later, and then
Happens all the time. With all due respect, it
yeah,
happens literally all the time. There's countless examples that you could point to, um, where they're like, "Yeah, this is our guy," and then boom, he's gone. Did you remember Osuna's our closer, and then like a week later he got traded? Which I mean, granted,
yeah,
good reason, but
that's a yeah.
good reason, but still the same sort of precedent, right? Um,
Yeah.
same sort of thing. Um, yeah, no, this one had like Davinsky got ejected. I think he was throwing like Sal Stewart. Um, yeah, there were guys being thrown at. You sent me another one, and I think this is the funniest one actually.
How does Chris Savitsky still have a jaw? That's my
Chris
question.
Davinsky in the Big 26, man. Listen, you know,
No. It's not even just the Big 26. Give me any year he was actually like really good, other than his rookie year.
true. His second year. Um,
True.
no, yeah, no, you're right. Like in the Big 26, especially, it's like, listen, I'm never gonna come up on here and just like say
Yeah, like
some
low
say some
key.
nonsense, but like I don't.
This is like I don't know. Personally speaking, I agree that a manager should be suspended for giving him pitching opportunities.
You know what? That's actually a really good argument that I never considered. Um,
Yeah.
in the most respectful way possible.
Yeah, I mean,
What
obviously a
what is
respectful way. There's
what
a World
is
Series champion,
what
so I
is
mean, you know.
this is true. What is Chris Davinsky, excuse me, doing for a team in the Big 26? Like, genuinely, what is he doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, he had a solid 16 innings last year. Like, is that what you want to hang your head on? And
Yeah.
hasn't had an earned run average below 4.46 since 2018 for
Yeah.
this year. Like, do we really want to do that? I don't know, man. It's still interesting. Ernie just came within like a couple feet of hitting a homer.
But yeah, back to the other hit by pitch that we saw.
Dude, this one is probably the funniest one, and it has nothing to do with the actual hit by pitch itself. I think the reaction to it is hilarious. Now, obviously,
Yeah.
I think a big part of it is because it happened on the same day as the Framber one. And people were memeing on it, and people are gonna get their jokes off, and of course, nothing wrong with that. But I think there was actually a subset of people who like thought that Garrett Cole was intentionally beating people in his rehab starts, which
I wouldn't put it by him. Kidding.
Hey man, whatever you got to do, you got to send a message to these guys. They're just getting drafted. They're just making their way up in the minor league system. You got to send them a message. You got to say, listen, I know you're not in the bigs yet, but listen, shit is not sweet. It's just not gonna be sweet. No, but that was funny. Like, that was just hilarious. Because, like, people were legitimately trying to make it sound like, yeah, Garrett Cole was real life trying to throw at people in the...
It's definitely suspicious that it was the guy that hit the home run off him, though. I will say. I could see why someone would think that it was intentional.
Hey, Garrett Cole beefing with single A players? Is that what's happening? He beefing?
Yeah.
He getting the beef off.
Also, speaking of the minor leagues, I think it's a good time to bring up this Manoah quote. So,
Whew.
what like I can't even begin to like I remember back in school they gave us like reading comprehension questions where we were given like a passage and we had to like decipher what it means and then the hidden messages, whatever. I tried using those skills here, but I don't know what this means. For those who don't know, here's a quote from Alek Manoah. The big leagues isn't for comfort. It's like the lion and the gazelle. The gazelle wakes up in the morning, he knows he has to outrun the slowest lion or he's going to be dinner. And the lion wakes up in the morning knowing he's got to go catch the slowest gazelle so he can feed his family. Long story short, you've got to wake up and run. That's the name of the game. So comfort level, who cares about any of that stuff? Let's go play some baseball.
What is he even talking about?
So a lot to unpack here. So,
dude, Alek Manoah might be the greatest of all time when it comes to saying some absolute nonsense.
Yeah,
he literally just be saying shit.
I just unfortunately don't know what any of that means.
Like, he's just saying shit. He is saying some absolute nonsense. He had this other quote where he's talking about coming back to Toronto. He's talking about all the champagne showers and this and that. And I'm like, obviously I do. He has my respect for what he did on that 2022 team. He was absolutely insane. But that quote makes it sound like, you know what I mean? It sounds like we were like constantly in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like through his entire tenure. Which, I mean, granted, the team was always good when he was here, for the most part. But I don't know. I thought that quote was funny too. Do you remember what he was like the quote about him being a big part of the World Series team?
Yes.
You remember that?
I do.
That was hilarious, man. Now that's some nonsense. That's some crazy talk.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember the context of the quote because he very well might have been joking. I don't know, but I just don't remember the context. But yeah, man, there's some things going on there. He's an interesting guy. I can't.
And I mean, I love the guy, but
he says some interesting things.
I just didn't exactly know what that meant exactly.
I don't know what it meant either. Didn't Johnny?
But it's provocative.
Change his name to like the Slow Gazelle or something.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on anymore. Yeah, so
I couldn't. If you paid me $1 million to tell you what he means by this quote, I'd be like, yeah, like I'm just not getting paid. Like, it's that simple. Like I could not tell you what this means. Like, if you could figure it out, good for you.
Yeah.
This ain't.
No, for sure.
This is not my area. I can't lie. I think we're ready to go on to our next thing really quick. We've had a lot of prospects get called up over the last few days. Like, we've had a lot. So, like, obviously, I think one of the big ones is the Yankees calling up Spencer Jones.
And welcome to the majors. He had to face Mizorowski, and he faced 104, 102, 104, and then an 86-mile-an-hour curveball.
Yeah, good luck. I mean, to be fair, also, granted, good luck to anyone facing Jacob Mizorowski.
That's what I
But
mean.
like, whew,
He threw 10 pitches in the first inning that were 102, 103, 103, 103, 103, 103, 103, 103, 103, 104.
oh my god.
Like, what? What do you do? Did you close your eyes and pray to God?
What else can you do?
Like, I don't know.
Like, genuine question, what else can you do against Mizorowski?
You literally just gotta
Like, I think
close your eyes and pray. It's like facing Mason Miller. You literally just take pitches and hope that
he's
you.
exactly, he's just the starting pitcher version of Mason Miller. Just like hope and pray. Even if he's like not the number
Yeah.
one dude. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, so he got the call. Um, there was a few big ones over in the National League. The Diamondbacks called up their top prospect Ryan Waldschmidt from AAA after
Yeah.
they DFA'd Alec Thomas. Salute to him. And then over in Miami, they called up one of their top prospects, Robbie Snelling. So we're seeing a lot more guys join this class of rookies. Which, I mean, you know what I mean. We would both agree that this is a pretty stacked rookie class, with or without these guys. To be totally fair, but you know, we
Yeah.
got like there's some absolute dogs here, and it's just it's adding to it. And a lot of these too, like the Marlins, like this is a team on the come up right now. The Diamondbacks, I don't know if I'd say they're on the come up because they definitely need some things to improve, even if they do have some really damn nice young players. But
Yeah.
for like Waldschmidt, for example, like he profiles like as just like a pretty solid outfielder. He doesn't. I don't think he projects to be anything like too crazy. I think he just like all his tools are like kind of like above average, and that's kind of how that goes. Because
Yeah.
they've relied on a lot of different guys to try and get some quality play from their outfield. Now, obviously, you have Corbin Carroll, but outside of like that, they've gone through like Alec Thomas, like Lawler hasn't really given them very much, so they kind of need a guy, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, the hope is that Waldschmidt can really give him something nice. Their manager, he was like, he said something about Waldschmidt. He says, this is a game of production. This is a game of being able to go out there and do your job. When things are grinding and there's somebody as ready and as talented and ready as Ryan Waldschmidt is, these are things that could potentially happen. So he's like, even their manager's like already, he's on the train. Now, obviously, he's not going to talk him down, but they believe in him. They gotta he's got to be a solid. He's got to be good for them because they
Yeah.
kind of need that because they've been struggling outside of Carroll to really get some consistent help in their outfield. I mean, like I just said, Lawler, Thomas hasn't really been that good. When they had Jake McCarthy, he wasn't really doing all that
Right.
before he was eventually gone. It's the youth movement right now. It's the youth movement all across the league. We're seeing it everywhere. I want to quickly talk about the Robbie Snelling one really quick because I kind of like this one. This pitching staff this year can continue to be really nice because they already have, like Sandy's been really good. They have like Yuri Perez is good too. Max Meyer has also been really fucking good this year. He's not like young, but like he's nice, man. Max Meyer is so good. I've been really surprised at how good he's been. For them, he has been such a bright spot on that team. If he can continue to do what he's doing, he has really good stuff. Good chase, whiff, strikeout numbers, all that. Some elite breaking stuff too, which goes hand in hand with the chase stuff. You add Snelling in there, that's a nice core you have there in terms of your pitching.
Yeah, 100%. And also, on top of that, they have a lot of like pieces they could move still
Mm-hmm.
and make this team even better in the next couple of years.
Oh, absolutely,
Because they
man.
have so many young guys, so many guys that are on the come up that they can flip. And that's not to say that they should just trade guys to trade guys,
Yeah, absolutely
but
not.
that's where having the depth helps because you're able to trade guys who still have high value that you just don't see as part of the plan because you just have better pieces.
Yeah, like you
So
just have guys there already.
yeah, like you could really make some, you know, big moves without, mortgaging your future if you're the Marlins. And that's not to go and say that, hey, buy this deadline, but it's something to keep in mind that, like, hey, there are going to be teams that want some of these players. We have a lot of young players who are coming up, playing well, showing their worth. There's definitely going to be teams interested. So
Yeah,
they're definitely in a good spot,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
and
Like
it's
that's
clear they're building something for the future here.
yeah. The Marlins have like a really nice foundation. I mean, we talked about like their young players like coming into the season, and although not all of them have really been um as good as you'd like this season, at least like with those guys, and even the guys that are on their way. Um, Up until just recently, Snelling was one of those guys who was on the way. They have even more guys down there. Whether it's they contribute on the roster or they get moved or whatever, right? Now again, like you said, when it comes to moving guys, you're not just gonna do it to do it. You gotta see that you're ready to actually go out there and make that move, and that you have these spots covered, all that stuff. But yeah, man, it's exciting for the Marlins. He was their second top. He was their second ranked prospect. Um,
Behind
and
White, I believe.
sorry.
Behind Thomas
Yeah,
White, I
yeah,
believe is
behind
yeah.
yeah behind Thomas White. Um, yeah,
Which
man,
another guy who's
who's also on the way.
not too
He's not
far
very far
from
away. Like you could very well
no.
potentially see him get called up at some point later this year. If not, he probably makes the roster next year, I would think.
Oh yeah, no. If he doesn't debut this year, he's
He's
debuting earlier
going
next
to
year,
yeah, he's
100%.
go
Barring
like he
anything crazy that happens.
yeah, like if everything goes according to plan, like honestly, I'd be kind of shocked if he didn't get called up at some point this year, even if it's a September call up, which honestly might even be like that might be what's the word I'm looking for? Not push, like the opposite of pushing it. Like he'll probably get called up before then, if I'm being completely honest. But whatever. I don't know. Sorry, September call up's kind of being like pessimistic for this guy. Like he'll probably be up before then. Dude, imagine
Yeah.
that pitching staff when he's up too. That's gonna be ridiculous. Oh my
Yeah, and
god.
that's exactly what I mean by being able to trade guys because now it's looking like, moving Sandy is not something that should be scary or daunting to look at. It's something that should be welcome. Like, okay, let's get a haul. We have some really good pitching. Let's trade Sandy. Let's get some bats in this
And
lineup. You know
keep
what
in
I mean?
mind,
Like there's
this is after they already traded Edward Cabrera in the offseason too, and they
yeah.
still have this pitching foundation, which is just ridiculous. Like it's
Yeah.
just that good, man. It's that damn nice, bro. So, hey man, shout out to Miami, man. Um, all right, I think we're ready to. Are you ready to move on to the main meat of the episode, or is there anything else you want to
Yeah.
touch on before we get there? So,
Good.
as it stands in the season, last week we were doing like how panicked should every team be. But at any point in the season, there's always questions that surround every single team, right? And today, we have a question for every single team in the league so far in the season. They can relate to various things. Some of them can be more individualistic to maybe like a specific player or something like that, or maybe like just like a component of the team or whatever it is. But we have one question for every single team so far in 2026. You want to start in the AL East? I feel like we
Yeah.
we like to start there a lot. So Start with the
Let's
Baltimore or
switch it up. Let's go NL East this time.
we'll
Let's start
go
with the NL.
NL East this time. All right. What do you got?
Yeah, let's do that.
What's the question for the Braves, man? What do you got for them? Because they got a lot of things going nice right now.
Yeah, so obviously we talked about that last week, talking about, their panic level, like every team.
And
And, with
we
the
said they're
Braves sort of
chilling.
comfortable, like one or two, you know what I mean? Like they're fine. I guess the one thing for me is, can Ronald Acuna Jr. stay healthy for, the majority of the season?
Yeah.
Because even without him, they're unbelievable. But if he stays healthy, then this team, there's no limit for what they can do. A World Series isn't like a crazy aspiration to have in this case.
Yeah, like there's a big difference between an Acuna who is on MVP level, and then on just kind of like doing like all right, like he had been doing
Yeah,
up to this point before he got put on the IL. So it's like when he comes back, are you gonna get that even like that 2025 Ronald Acuna
yeah,
Jr. Not even 2023, or are you gonna get like the 2022 Acuna where he was just kind of like kind of okay, or 2024 Acuna or whatever. My question for them was, can Ozzy Albies keep up this level of play? He has been absolutely killing the game all season, right?
yeah,
With all due respect to him, he has been absolutely killing the game. The guy's hitting 322, 153 WRC plus, is second on the team in WAR. But when I look at Albies a little bit further, I try to think, I'm like, what is he doing so differently compared to like years before? Like the chase rate's about the same. The quality to contact isn't that much better. There's some difference in like the types of batted balls that he's getting. Like he's hitting more line drives and fly balls, not popping up as much. Ground balls are he's hitting fewer ground balls, albeit not by that much. So maybe that is honestly the big difference. But I'm like, on what level is this production sustainable? Like, I don't expect him to hit 320 for the whole season because he's just never been that player throughout his whole career. And his production so far, what he's been giving them, has been a huge, huge part of why the Braves have been so, so good, right? The Braves, up to this point, have been a top lineup in baseball. They are fourth in WRC plus, and they are first in runs scored. They are a top 5 lineup so far this season. A lot of that, a big part of that, is the production of Ozzy Albies, right? And
yeah.
so, how sustainable is that production for him? If maybe it isn't as sustainable, then you have to rely on, Acuna coming back and he's healthy and he's doing his thing, and Austin Riley bouncing back and all these other things, right? But if the Ozzy Albies stuff is real, right? If it's fully like chilling, that makes things a lot easier. It takes a lot of pressure off Acuna when he eventually comes back. You don't have to rely on an Austin Riley bounce back as much, even though you would obviously want him to do so. It makes it so that even if it doesn't happen, like, you're not in hell. Like, you're chilling. Like, things will be fine. If Ozzy Albies can even keep up, even, let's say, a 130 WRC plus for the remainder of the season, right? Like, that would make things so much easier. But again, how realistic is that? Because I hate to be that guy, but Albies is overperforming his expected WOBA by almost 80 points.
Yeah.
Which, it makes me think there's got to be something here. You know what I mean? I don't...
Yeah.
It's a bit of a red flag, but, we'll see how it goes there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not something that I think is super sustainable. I don't think he's obviously going to continue doing what he's doing to this extent. I think he'll still, have one of the better years he's had in his career, but it just doesn't seem, that likely that he continues at this point of his career with an ISO well above 200 like it is. We've seen it from him before, but it just doesn't seem like he's the 30 home run hitting Ozzy Albies, the guy who's a 4-win player. Can he finish with a 4 WAR? Yes. Is he going to do it with a 150 something WRC plus? Probably not.
Yeah, no, that's just not going to happen, right? I mean, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, we can come back to all these later in the year if we want, but right now, I look at this and I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I don't really know. Like he's running damn near career high in BABIP too, and I'm just like, listen, I would love to sit here and just say like it's all chill, like he's got it, but I look at this and I'm like, I don't know how much I believe in that. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
makes me a little skeptical to say the least, but obviously we'll see what happens. Next up for the Marlins, I was saying, what's up with your young guys right now? Now, I want to. I'm focusing me on a few specific guys when I say this. I'm focusing on Owen Casey, Jacob Marcy, and Augustine Ramirez. Now, Augustine Ramirez got sent down. He was struggling. Jacob Marcy, his OPS starts with a 5. He's been struggling. Owen Casey's barely above the Mendoza line. After, remember, he had a really hot start to the season, like the first week or two. He was on it. He has gone ice cold. It's bad. Freezing temperatures. That's how cold he is right now. Now,
Yeah.
at the same time, we were just talking about how good of a foundation the Marlins have. How many good young players that they have on the roster, coming up, whatever. Now, if you have a guy like Owen Casey, now granted, he's a rookie, so I mean it makes sense. Not everyone hits the ground running. If you have a guy like Owen Casey, he bounces back, the rest of the season, gives you the type of, rookie showing that you're expecting out of him. Or maybe you had to send him down, he comes back up later, and then he does his thing, whatever. Same thing with Augustine Ramirez, like he comes up later, does his thing, Jacob Marcy, whatever. If you get production from these guys, your young core looks infinitely more promising versus if you don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, I completely get what you're saying. My question for the Marlins personally is, what does the future look like? What are your plans with Sandy? Because it's at the point in his career where he's not getting any younger, obviously. It's not like you can expect him to be a Cy Young guy for, a bunch more years. And by the time that you're ready to really compete, it would be too late to move him for a haul. And that's not to say that, a team won't still pay a couple years down the line, but his value is just going down by the day at this point. It's like,
yeah, and
that's just what happened.
this is a guy who's been in trade conversations for, it feels like forever at this point, right? Like
It's kind of like Lou Bob, where it's like everyone finally this offseason hit. It's like, okay, yeah, he's not getting moved. He never gets moved. We're done with it. And then he actually got moved.
and then it was like, whoa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is a guy, he's been in trade conversations forever. Last offseason he was in them. Last year at the deadline, he was a guy that was getting thrown around a lot. The offseason before that, like he's been constantly thrown around in these trade talks, right? And again, like we established, they have a really good foundation of just young pitchers in their, their major league roster, minor league system, whatever. That if you trade Sandy, like it's fine. Like you're gonna get like an okay enough return. That it'll probably end up being worth it, just given how much pitching talent you have, like active and on the way.
Yeah.
So it's like we really gotta think. Like we gotta either be, like we gotta be guys here with Sandy, or we gotta sit here, look at ourselves in the mirror, and we gotta say, all right, Sandy, it's been real, but like the guy's almost 31, right? Like you said, the guy is not getting any younger. So, it gets to a point where it's like, all right, you have the club option next year. So you can look at a team and you can go, well, listen, you have him for the rest of this year, and then you have him next year if you want, if he continues being as solid as he's been. That's something. That's not a nothing asset, especially for this nice of a pitcher. He's nice.
And it's at that point where I think that they'd be, I don't want to say they'd be dumb not to do it, but this is something that I'd explore sooner rather than later. Don't let the value go down anymore. Get the most you can get from him. If you want to wait until around the deadline where teams are getting a bit more desperate, that's fine. I just don't think keeping him past this year makes too much sense, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't really see what it's going to serve you in the long run. If this guy was like 27, I'd kind of get it. But he's almost 31. He's going to be...
By the time the Marlins are ready to be like really good, he's not going to be able to contribute as much. He'd be like a 4 or 5 starter at best, I feel like, at that point for the Marlins, if they hit on these pitchers. Like if Perez, turns things around, which he's still 23 years old. Max Meyer, Snelling, White, like if these guys are anywhere near like they could be and everyone values them, then I don't see Sandy being a top 3 pitcher in this rotation, not even really top 4 at like age 34 or 35. So when you have these young pitchers already getting older and keeping the players who are at this point in their career doesn't really make much sense for a young team that's trying to win in the future, not a win now mode team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be an interesting thing to monitor, to see what they decide to do with Sandy. What do you got for the Mets? What do you got for the New York Mets?
Yeah, so very interesting team here. So I don't know if I can narrow it down to one question. I guess my question is,
how many layers of hell are there?
Yeah. Like, it's just, I don't even know what's wrong with this team in particular. It's not like it's just one thing that's making them not good. It's kind of a mixture of everything. Nothing's going right for them. Injury-wise, the players who aren't injured but that they acquired that are just not playing well. I mean, it's just a cluster over there. I don't know what's happening. You could count on one hand the amount of hitters that have a WRC plus over 99, which, not even just the qualified guys, even the unqualified guys, you can count on one hand still. So it just gets to a point where it's like, can anybody hit the baseball? I think that's the question. Can somebody just put some runs up on the board? In baseball, you need a team effort. You need a bunch of guys getting hits. You need rallies, putting runs up as a team. Just somebody hit some solo shots even at this point.
Yeah. That was my question pretty much too, was like, can this lineup come alive, right? Because, you did all this work to basically just like rehaul your lineup in the offseason. You brought in Bichette, you brought in like Jorge Polanco, and he wasn't good before he went on the IL. I'm not
gonna say this guy. I'm not gonna say this guy fixes everything, but I bet they're missing Brandon Nimmo right now.
I can't lie. Yeah, they're definitely missing Nimmo right now. And again, would not instantly be the answer to all the Mets' problems, but
no, but he would be the best hitter on their team other than Juan Soto this year.
Yeah, and
I guess MJ Melendez, but that's obviously a very limited time.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'll even say this. You're based off WRC plus, Jeff McNeil would be top 3 on that team as well.
Oh, man.
Not saying that Jeff McNeil was like the guy you have to keep, but like it just doesn't look great when they're putting up these numbers off the Mets. It just makes you think maybe there's something more going on than just, the players are underperforming. It might be like a coaching thing. I don't know what their hitting coach is doing. I don't know if it's a morale thing. I mean, you remember all the rumors last year with like Lindor and Soto and stuff, and it's like, I'm not saying that, they have, big beef or anything, but seeing what's happening right now on the field, it makes you wonder, is something behind the scenes going on that's a little more serious and anticipated? I mean, you see a lot of the time where teams kind of check out because they're just, they're not a close team, and when you're losing games, you don't have the mindsets and attitudes to get out of the rut. You're kind of just digging yourself a deeper hole, and that's why having such a close team who fights hard for each other, goes to war for each and every guy on that team every single night when you play the game, it just seems like they're lacking that killer mentality. it seems like it's what you see a lot of coaches and a lot of people say in other sports is that these players don't hate losing, and it really seems like these Mets players don't hate losing.
Which is not what you want to see.
No.
Especially given the start to the season, like they tied for the worst record in the league. They are a bottom 2 run scoring team in all of baseball. Like we said, like almost all of their acquisitions, at least on the offensive side, are just not working out right now. Lou Bob hasn't really been that good. Bichette has been kind of dreadful. Not that he was an acquisition, but Brett Beatty has been extremely disappointing. Marcus Semien is a full-on just negative WAR player right now. Jorge Polanco had a 52 WRC plus before he landed on the IL. Like, it's not great. It's not what you want. Carson Bench, not that he was an acquisition, but they called him up and he's been struggling so far. Even Mark Vientos has been struggling too. Like, it's not what you want. It's not ideal. Not ideal at all.
And it's not like there's a long list of like hitting prospects they have in the minor leagues where you could call up and they're gonna like tear up the majors. It's not like they're really deep on that front. So they're really in a position where it's like you gotta take a step back, relax. I know that Steve Cohen loves spending money, and I know that the Mets will technically be contenders every year because of the amount of money that they're able to have. But maybe a conversation needs to be had. Do we want to retool? Not even a full rebuild. You're not going to rebuild this early into Juan Soto's contract, obviously. But it really gets to a point where you have to step back and think like, okay, we gotta kind of retool this team. What do we want to do? What does the future look like? Let's not build, every single offseason. Let's not spend billions of dollars and hope that, some of the acquisitions are just good. Why don't we actually have a plan in place and be smart with it? Because it's one thing to be able to just spend money on whoever. It's another thing to actually sign the right guys who make the team better. I'm not saying that some of the guys they sign aren't good players. Like, I'm not going to say that Bo Bichette's some bum or that, Marcus Semien has been a terrible player or that, Lou Bob or something. I'm not saying that these guys aren't necessarily... I'm not trying to say they're not good or not, like, contributors to a team, but it just seems like they're trying to build their team... Yes, they're trying to build a team through the ability of being able to spend and take on contracts, not based off what they actually think would be a good team. They're signing guys because they're top free agents, not because they fit with the scheme, fit with the plan, anything like that. And that's what it seems like from the outside, at least.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right. And I would even agree. I would agree with you. Like, even in the offseason, like, there was some really weird, like, signings and stuff. Like, they have a really jam-packed infield. Here comes Bo Bichette. Here comes Jorge Polanco, and he's going to play first. And then he wasn't playing first. And he was playing DH because he had the tendonitis thing in his Achilles or whatever it was. And it's like, it was really, really weird. It's like, what are we doing?
No, for sure. I mean, it's really just confusing as to how this team is performing as poorly as they have, because that's another thing with, spending all this money. That was one thing that I saw a lot of people say in the offseason. It's like, oh, even if we have injuries, we just have other guys that'll step up. But, like, even the main guys haven't stepped up yet.
That's the problem is, number one, they haven't stepped up, and the other guys haven't stepped up either. To be fair,
no,
I guess MJ Melendez has been stepping up, but...
What happened?
I was going to say, I guess MJ Melendez has been stepping up, but...
Oh, yeah.
Very guys
but I
mean, on this team.
if he's been your best hitter, it's pretty telling
like,
on how the team's doing.
That's an issue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, with all due respect, that is an issue on a team that houses, again, Juan Soto, which, I mean, to be fair, he's been incredibly good. Francisco Lindor, before he went on the IL, he wasn't really doing that high. Bo Bichette is supposed to be like a 130, 120 WRC plus guy. You were hoping to get a little bit more out of Lou Bob. It's not just that, so that's why I gotta be like, can you score something?
Yeah,
please?
I mean, it really just does get to a point where enough spending money and enough doing these big moves, just build the team that can hit. And it's obviously easier said than done, but, like, it's just you have all this money and you still can't figure it out in terms of building a team that's able to consistently make the playoffs and make runs. I'm not saying that like it's easy to do, but you look at the Dodgers and it's not like the Dodgers are getting there based off prospects and young talent and hidden gems. Truth be told, they're spending a lot of money, but it's working way better for them, which tells me it's more than just about putting a bunch of good players on a team and hoping they play well. This isn't like MLB The Show Diamond Dynasty where you have to have the highest overall cards who are better. It's a real baseball team. You got to make sure these guys fit, can play well together. And honestly, it might just be a culture thing. I mean, the Mets do have a reputation of this. It's not like this is the first year where the Mets spend a lot of money in the offseason and are underperforming. It's not like this is like a new concept.
Yeah, definitely not the first time that we've seen something like this, which again,
No.
not what you want to hear as a Mets fan.
No, and that's exactly what I'm saying of how the problem definitely stems from more than just, they're hurt or, they're cold. It's just, at what point is it like, okay, yeah, something's going on, we got to do something about it. And I don't know what that fix is. And again, I'm happy that's not my problem.
Yeah, this is not a problem I'd want to have, whether I had to deal with it as a fan or I had to try and figure it out as GM. I do not want to figure out this problem. Thankfully, I do not. Listen, for any Mets fans who got to deal with this on a daily basis, shout outs to you, respects to you. You got it. You got it, bro. To the front office who's trying to try and fix this one, good fucking luck. The Phillies. So, what I was thinking with the Phillies was like, how much longer does this group have, right? So, already we came into the season, this group is getting older, right? Even before the cold start. Even before the cold start, after the consecutive seasons of 90 wins, right? The World Series appearance, this core is getting older, right? I think everybody knew the clock was kind of ticking on this group. Now you're off to a really tough start. You're tied for the worst run differential in baseball. You're a good bit under 500. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to be on this pace the whole season. But what this gets me wondering is how much longer do they have, right?
Yeah, I mean, my thinking is that here's the fun thing. I guess not fun, but like that's just like I guess kind of funny. It's that the whole offseason, this and last offseason, it was all about Dave Dombrowski and how, the whole thing with Harper, he's not that, he's not elite anymore, whatever. Bryce Harper has been one of the better hitters in baseball so far.
He's been their
151 WRC plus. He's slugging, I'm saying in baseball right now, he's been like one of the better hitters.
Oh, absolutely.
Slugging 551. He's got 9 homers. He's walking just as much as he's striking out. 275 ISO. You say that to a Phillies fan, Bryce Harper's going to have an insane year. You're probably excited, like, oh man, we're back. We're going to be, first in the division or whatever. But then you look at it and it's nobody else doing it. I mean, obviously Schwarber's doing his thing. Trey Turner, not great. Where's the 300 hitter that we've seen, time and time again? Where's the guy who will put up like a 120 WRC plus? Where's the guy who's going to steal like 30 bases? Right now he has 3 stolen bases, hitting 235, 81 WRC plus, and he's playing bad defense on top of it. He's a 0.0 F4. Literally replacement level. It's just...
It reminds me a lot. Do you remember that first year that he was on the Phillies in the first, 3, maybe 4 months
with the whole
of that
standing
season?
ovation thing?
And he was just dreadful for those first 4 months.
Yeah, and then he gave him the standing ovation. He started playing well.
Yeah, and he started cranking. Not even just started playing well. He started cranking the ball after that. He was hitting nukes. But it reminds me of that because again, this is a guy who last season, age 32, comes out of nowhere. Now again, we've seen this offensive production from him before, those stuff we saw last year. But he came out of nowhere last year and was just casually just one of the best defensive shortstops in the league. And we're all like, everyone's like, what happened here? Right? The guy had a 16 outs above average, plus 10 fielding run value. Where everyone's like, whoa, what's going on? And we're like, is this real or no? And it's looking like no, with all due respect, because we're seeing this with all due respect, is the Trey Turner defense you would kind of expect.
Yeah.
You would not expect him to be the best defensive shortstop in the league. And even if he dropped to average, I think the Phillies would be more than okay with that.
Although last year he was unreal.
Yeah.
So it's like, where's that? There's no way that's a complete fluke in the sense you don't fluke your way into being one of the best defensive shortstops in the league in a season. So it's kind of like, where did it go? Did you forget how to feel?
Like, what happened?
Yeah, how did that happen last year then?
Yeah, and another thing that I think about with this group is that they have a lot of guys. I mean, even outside Trey Turner, like someone like Alec Boehm. Oh,
yeah. What is this? My question. What does Alec Boehm and Bryson Stott do?
What does he
what
even
do they do?
It's the DJ
And
Khaled meme. What does he even do?
I'll say this: if Stott didn't have a cool walk-up song in that cool grand slam against the Marlins, is he even considered like a top second baseman by some people?
Genuinely. Because what are either of them doing? You know what I mean? Neither of them are providing any value. I almost said Manoah.
At least Stott's a good defender. At least he's a good defender.
Exactly. Boehm does not hit, right? The guy has a 21 WRC plus. His WRC plus is younger than me, by the way. 21 WRC plus, minus 0.6 F-WAR. At the very least, again, like you said, Stott is just a good defender. He's also a good base runner. At least he just has those things going for him, so he can at least be above replacement level. Boehm, I can't really say the same thing about. Like, this is, in the most respectful way possible, Boehm right now is not playing like a major league player. He is playing like someone who gets sent down at some point, or
I fucking hate this place.
Whatever. What happened?
Remember that?
Oh my god. I do remember that. I forgot that happened. Dude, he tried to.
I thought he was gone after that. Dude, I thought that was like.
Dude, how did he save that? How did his PR not tank? Like, how did he save his PR?
Well, it's because of what he said afterwards, in my opinion, which honestly showed a ton of maturity.
I don't remember what he said.
I'm not saying that that's why you keep him along, but like a lot of players would just say like, oh, whatever, yeah, I said it, whatever, who cares? Like, it was but he was saying how it was like, he got emotional, got in his own head, and he just said it because of like he owned up to it and took responsibility and basically said like he just was showing emotion on the field, and obviously it's easy to just say that, but it was something along those lines that showed accountability and maturity that I guess they valued. And I don't know, but right now with a 21 WRC plus, I think it's time.
Yeah, like we gotta figure it out. We can't keep doing the gimmick. You know what I mean? This is not the first time that he's tried to do this, where he starts. Or I say tried as if he does intentionally. Where he's done this thing where he starts out incredibly slow, and then he kind of gets it going. Later in the year, and then it's like, oh, he's actually like solid right now. Because last year he did the same thing. By the end of April, had a 44 WRC plus. In 2024, actually, I guess it's a little bit different, but like this is the second year in a row where we've done this like insanely bad start gimmick.
Yeah.
And you kind of fugazied your way into it, or into like some okay looking numbers by the end of the year. But like it gets to a point, man. It gets to a point,
Yeah.
So, like, what are the other guys on this squad going to do? And, I mean, that's just the offense. We didn't talk about, like, the pitching part. In their starting rotation, aside from Christopher Sanchez and, Zach Wheeler, who just came back, like, their rotation is not giving them anything. Now, granted, I would expect...
Their bullpen's not much better either.
Yeah, like, there's a lot that's bleak. Like, their lineup overall is giving them pretty much, like, not very much production. Their pitching staff is not doing them any favors. They have one of, like, I'm pretty sure they are tied right now, well, granted, excluding today's games, they are tied right now, I think, with the Giants for the worst run differential in all of the league. The entire league. That's not what you want to hear if you're a Phillies fan.
No.
Not at all what you want to hear. That's spooky. And again, like I said, this group's getting older. How much longer do they have? When do you decide to, if it's July and this team is still struggling, right? Let's say they're 45 and 55.
Yeah.
Do you consider
Like
pulling the trigger?
I know as Jays fans we say like we use the Dan Campbell quote where it was like, "Oh, this might have been our only shot." And like obviously, yeah, it's not looking great, but this is the first year after. 2022 might have literally been their only shot.
And it was a damn good shot too, man.
Yeah.
They were giving the Astros work. I can't lie. Enough work. They were giving them enough work.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just haven't been able to replicate anything particularly close to that level since. And at the starts this season, it's like, well, what are we gonna get now?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you have like the same thing for the Phillies, or like what did you?
Yeah. I mean, what I said was that like it's what does Stott and Bohm do, but obviously it's more than just that.
They all kind of go together.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. For Washington, what do you got? What do you got for Washington?
My question is probably just it's gonna be something to do with pitching. Well, it's just what are we doing? That's my question.
That is a good question because I can't lie. It's looking pretty bleak over there. You know what's crazy?
I mean,
I would say 2 years ago they had like a kind of promising pitching staff. Like 2 years ago, and now it's like, oh, it's ugly. I can't lie, it's ugly.
And they do have a couple prospects that I am very intrigued by, like Susanna and Sakura. Susanna's doing well right now in Double A. Sakura is doing incredible, or was doing incredible before he got to Double A, but obviously 22 years old. He's got a couple of years before the Nationals are even close to trying to win. And same thing with Susanna. They got a bunch of good prospects, but the thing is, a lot of them are hitting prospects. And obviously, the Nationals need a bit of everything. It's not like they just need, a couple pitchers or so, like to step up and then they're fine. Because obviously, they need a lot. But, they've got the makings of a good lineup. C.J. Abrams, dog. James Wood, dog. You know what I mean? Like, they have a couple guys that are, like, really good major league hitters already. At only aged, like, 25 and 23. Then you have some of the depth guys. Dalen Lyle's not having a great year, but he was very good last year, and he lit up the minors, consistently. I don't think that this is who he is, like a 95 WRC plus bat. I think he's a very solid contact guy who can hit close to 300 like we saw last year in the majors. If he can get closer to that, that's obviously good. They've got some fun players. Brady House, another one. Like, they've got some good hitters and some potential studs with the bat. They are very, very bare-boned pitching-wise, though.
Yeah, and that's going to be something that's going to be really hard to work around, when even their position players do progress. And, they're looking at a point where, right now they're one of the top lineups of ball, but, in a year or two or whatever, when, that lineup is looking to make a run, you don't really have the pitching staff to really complement them. Obviously, they could go out and spend or whatever, but it's not the most ideal sitch right now in that regard. One thing that I was thinking for the Nationals is, like, who are the keepers right now? We've seen guys in trade conversations before. C.J. Abrams was kind of in trade talks this past offseason. Obviously, they traded Mackenzie Gore. They have a lot of guys who are playing pretty well right now. Certain guys who I think near the middle of the season, we're gonna see a lot of guys be like, oh well, maybe this team's gonna call about this guy. Who are you keeping? Like, who are you all in on, and who are you kind of out on? I think the big one on this is C.J. Abrams. He is playing some of the best ball of his career right now. He is hitting so well. He's hitting for some pretty nice power right now. He's just hitting incredible right now overall. So with someone like C.J. Abrams, who it doesn't have that long before he hits free agency. I think he only has 2 more seasons left after this year. Do you try to extend him? Do you trade him and try to capitalize on his value? Because whatever you do with C.J. Abrams, I think it's going to set the course for the rest of the team, and the future of the team and how that ends up going. So I think
I agree. I mean, one thing that you could definitely say is, you could look at what teams need a shortstop, because there are obviously some good teams who haven't been getting that production from the shortstop position. One team that immediately comes to mind for in that aspect is the Milwaukee Brewers. Right now, they're in a position where their shortstop is David Hamilton, and he doesn't really seem like the answer. Adding a guy like Abrams could really make that offense even better and really shine. And obviously, we know that the Brewers, they always have pitchers. So that's definitely a trade you can explore, like a trade partner you could explore. Obviously other teams too could use a shortstop. Tampa Bay is definitely set in terms of the future there. But that's another thing, because a lot of times a lot of prospects could come up and play that position, which is why they don't make a trade. But I think that just having a prospect as depth, and you can use him, you could kind of, turn him into, play a different position, could help. Because Tampa Bay, for example, their shortstop right now is Taylor Wall. Obviously that's not getting the job done very, very clearly. But then you have Carson Williams, who's in the minor leagues, who obviously struggled. So since he's not ready, you could make a play for a guy like Abrams there, for a team that's kind of on the fringe of trying to compete and trying to save assets. But the Tampa Bay Rays have, they're 25-12. I think they could afford to make a swing like that if they want to.
Yeah, and objectively, would make them so much better. It would make them so much more potent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially a team that, we'll talk about them later, but can't lie, I think they could definitely use it. For the Chicago Cubs, what I was thinking for the Cubs was, which version of PCA are you getting? Now, overall in the season, PCA's numbers are looking, not really spectacular. They're just kind of looking very right now. His offensive numbers specifically I'm talking about, right? Obviously, his defensive numbers, base running, are exactly what you expect. But there's a little bit of a thing here. So I don't know if you fully remember. PCA started the season off dreadful with the bat. A dreadful.
Yeah.
Since May, though, since it has turned the month, and even, nearing, the end of April, too, he started to look a lot more like the PCA that we were seeing in the first half of last year. Since the start of the month, which granted, it's only been a week, this could flip completely by next week. He has an ISO of 240, slugging 520, OPS 877, and a WRC plus of 146. He has been hitting a lot better as of late. Now, again, the at-bats are not perfect. There's still, the chase problems, swing decisions, all that. A lot of whiff. But the version that we've been getting of PCA more recently is more in line with that first half 2025 PCA, and also in turn, it's just so much better, right? One of the things that I've said about PCA before is that even without his bat, being like good, right? He's still an incredibly valuable player because of how good his defense is at such an important position, right?
Yeah.
But if he can start hitting, and I mean like really hitting like we know that he can, that is scary. Because even with a below average WRC plus, the guy is 22nd in F4 in the National League. With a below average bat, he is the only player in the top 49 in F4 in the national not in the National League, in the whole league, in the whole major leagues, by the way. Only player in the top 49 in F4 to have a below average WRC plus. That is how good his defense is. And I mean, his base running is also positive too, but his defense especially, that he, even without, a really good bat, is still providing such good value. He's providing top 25 player value. That's crazy good. Now imagine he's hitting. Imagine he's hitting tanks. That's scary. I don't know, that's a scary sight to see.
Yeah, I mean, he had a big one last night.
He did.
To
tie the game.
To tie the game after a very rare Ellie 2 RBI sac fly to right field. That was something.
Yeah, I saw it. The guy like fell over like when he caught it or something.
Yeah, it was hit to Seiya. He had to go back to the wall, and he made it against the wall, which forced him to like come down, and he didn't have time to get up and throw the ball. So it was like he threw it from like the sitting position, which hit like a very short cutoff, man. It wasn't like he was able to get it in deep, and any sort of speed, you're scoring 2 there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, dude, I saw that.
Not even, I mean, you don't even need like, some super fast guy. The average player's probably getting 2 there.
Yeah, because that throw.
But that's just heads up base running and just a good decision to get the send.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. You don't see a two run sac fly very often. You don't see that every day.
No, it's the first time since 2021. It was Tommy Edman back on the Cardinals the last time that happened.
Honestly, surprised it was that recent. I'll be honest, I do not remember that Tommy Edman one at all.
But I mean, that's 5 years ago, which is kind of crazy. So it is kind of long when you think about each team playing 162 games.
Yeah, that does make sense. It does make a lot of sense. What do you got for the Cubs?
Yeah, no, my question is definitely, can we see some consistency overall as a team? Because obviously the team is sitting atop of the division, but you can look at individual performances and you can see that some guys are getting hot while others are getting cold. And it's kind of flip-flopping. So you're always having a bunch of guys contributing, but it seems like you're always having some guys who are kind of struggling at times. Right now, Bregman's kind of cooled down with the bat. Ballesteros has kind of cooled down a little. And it's just like, other guys are heating up, like PCA, for example. And it's really just, can they find like a kind of medium where everyone's doing like a little bit of something at the same time? If that's the case, this team has a very high ceiling of what they're able to do.
Yeah, that's like one of the things that they need, and that was something that kind of hurt them last year, especially with their lineup. They had like a bunch of guys who were killing in the first half. PCA, Michael Busch, there was some other guys in there. I don't remember all of them, and they went like cold in the second half. But then like the other half got really hot in the second half after being cold in the first half. I remember writing about that. I was like, dude, which version of this lineup are you gonna get? Because they're like, every single player here has like a complete tale of 2 halves. That's exactly how it was last year for them. And if you can get consistency throughout that lineup, we're seeing that. I mean,
for first half, it looked like Carson Kelly was the best catcher in the National League.
Yeah. He was one of those guys. And in the second half, it was just like,
how is this guy in the league still?
Came down quite a bit. Obviously, the same thing like PCA's bat. Michael Busch's bat kind of had a similar thing. The reverse effect could have been said for, I think, like Ian Happ was one of the guys. I know Matt Shaw, like, he was carrying the flame in the second half a lot. Um, he was carrying the flame in the second half. There were some other guys too. I think Nico Horner was a lot better in the second half too. I'm going off of memory on these ones. I know I wrote about this before, but
and obviously PCA, the big one.
yeah, that was the big one of like the drop off
where it was looking like it was looking at one point where it's like this is one of the biggest fleaces ever.
He was,
and now it's kind of like okay, he's damn good.
He was looking legitimately like he very well could have won the MVP in the first half.
Oh, 100%. He was like, I you know what I mean? Looking at who was doing what at like the break, I think that many people had him as the MVP favorite.
Absolutely, because like you look at a guy, I think he was on pace by that point to like crack 40 home runs or whatever. Or at least he would have came damn close. Some of the best defense in the entire league at a ridiculously valuable position, by the way, or like important position. So it's ridiculously valuable defense. That is insane. Plus he's a plus base runner too. Like that. Like that's a guy, man. That's a dude. That's a dude out there. So I mean, yeah, like he's one of the guys too. I guess like his consistency, kind of that's going to be a big thing for them. So it's a big difference between him batting ninth, or eighth, or like he has been for most of the season, and him hitting like third. You know what I mean? If he's hitting third, you're probably getting some good things from this lineup.
Yeah, sure.
On that note, let's move on. What do you have for the Cincinnati Reds?
It is a very fun division right now in terms of everyone's kind of, any given day they look like they could be the best team in that division for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
As for Cincinnati, they definitely have cooled off a little. But I will say there are some very big bright spots on that team. Sal Stewart's looking like a stud. Nathaniel Lowe has been having a very good year. Ellie De La Cruz is Ellie De La Cruz. And pitching-wise is kind of where the struggles have happened this year. You have some great names. Chase Burns, Andrew Abbott, Nick Lodolo, Rhett Lauder, Hunter Green. Obviously, I'm not saying all of these are healthy. But you have some damn good pitchers in this rotation. They're not really pitching like it right now. They have 3 guys with an ERA that starts with a 5 that are currently in the rotation. Nick Lodolo hasn't pitched yet this season, I believe. Today is his first outing, and he struggled. 5 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, and a walk, only 2 strikeouts. That's not what we're used to seeing from Nick Lodolo. And we just need, that's my question for them. Can you... and obviously their bullpen's not great. That's even more reason why their pitchers need to actually, be better. Their starters need to be better. Can we see some good starts from this rotation coming up? That's my question.
Yeah, I actually, my question actually, it went to the complete other side of the ball. Yeah, their rotation is definitely something like they gotta be better there, and their pitching staff as a whole. For me, it was the other side of the ball. I was seeing can this lineup start to heat up a little bit, right? Because I mean, you have some of your big guys are doing work in there, like Ellie Sal. But overall, this lineup, they are 26th in WRC plus right now, and they're 22nd in runs scored. This is not particularly ideal. Now, granted, they don't really rank high in pitching metrics either. They're 23rd in earned run average, so it's kind of both, right? Really, you're asking both of the questions here. Can we get some?
That's the thing. You're either getting a game where they pitch very well and they kind of limit you to how many you're going to score, but then you're also not scoring many runs, or the pitchers will give up 8 runs. The starting pitcher will give up 8 runs, then you get 6 runs of offense and then still lose the game. It's just they haven't been able to play a complete team at this point in the year, and considering their record and where they are, obviously you'll take that if the team has struggled. Losing 8 in a row is the thing that's hurt the most, because this team was looking absolutely unreal before, and now they're really kind of coming down to earth a bit. Right.
And now it's they got swept by the Pirates and the Cubs too. got swept by 2 division
Yeah,
rivals.
and now they're 6.5 back in the division, which isn't too much at this point in the season. However, it's something that you gotta chip away at soon so you don't dig yourself into a deeper hole. And at this point in the season, that's kind of the theme here. Just, don't let yourself get into too deep of a hole.
Yeah, you need to
Because,
stay
yes,
afloat.
yeah, like what the Blue Jays are doing right now, 9.5 back. I'm not really a fan of that, but.
Yeah, like regardless of whether or not you think this thing will figure itself out or whatever, at a certain point a hole is a hole, however you got there, right?
Just like with the Mets, just it's the same thing with the Mets. Like, yeah, they could still, turn it around and play well, but they put themselves in such a deep hole where it's like they're going to need to go on an absolute insane run at some point where they're looking like they're the best team in baseball in order to, tread water to get the 500. So,
Absolutely. Like they're gonna need to have one of those seasons where they go on. I wouldn't call it a Cinderella run, or maybe you could, but every year we have a team that they're not really performing well, however far into the season, right? Like for example, last year I guess you could say it was the Guardians. The year before the Tigers, and ironically the Mets I think fit this category.
yeah.
They had poor starts to the season, and it gets later in the season, and they just caught fire. Because you remember the Mets were sub 500, and they went on an absolute tear in the second half. I think they were like one of the 2, maybe 3 best teams in the second half of the season, and that propelled them to win it like almost 90 games, and make the postseason. And then the Tigers did a similar thing. Last year it was the Guardians, although not to the same extreme. But yeah, like a hole is a hole. What worries me, in either case, whether it is their pitching, whether it's their lineup, like you said, they have not looked like a complete team. What worries me is them digging themselves in a deeper hole.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're already
above 500, 6.5 back. That's doable.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, being 5 games under 500 and being like 9.5 back. That's when you're starting to get into a hole where it's like, all right, let's start figuring this out sooner rather than later, because once it gets a bit worse for them from there, that's when the hole becomes too deep.
Yeah, you can't have a bottom 10, and also you can't have a bottom 10 lineup and bottom 10 pitching staff and expect to be like a postseason contender.
Yeah.
Like you just can't, right?
Right.
That just does not work. So they're going to need to figure out at bare minimum one of these facets of their team, before we can think about them making it back to the postseason and whatever else. They're gonna need to figure something out here. For the Milwaukee Brewers, this is a team that has been incredible. They have been a top 10 pitching staff. They have been a top 10 lineup in the league. However, there's one thing that I'm looking at, and honestly, I might be cherry picking a little bit with the Brewers. Are we going to be able to get some slug this season, at all? Now, granted, last year they were not a particularly big time power hitting team, right? Was not a thing, not a thing that we've seen very much from the Brewers in recent memory. They get on base a lot.
Getting Andrew Vaughn back will help, though.
It will. They're one of the best on-base teams in the league. They're 5th in the league in OBP, but they are second to last in home runs. Only the Giants have hit fewer home runs than the Brewers. They have hit just 24. Now, again, last season they were one of the top run-producing lineups in the league. They were 3rd in runs scored last year, despite being 22nd in home runs. So clearly this team just, they obviously are not a power hitting team. And I'm not asking if the Brewers can become a top 10 power team, right? I'm talking about, can you maybe be in the 15 to 20 range as opposed to the 29 where they are now? Because that is going to make sustaining this level of run production. Again, they are 9th in runs scored. It'll make that a lot easier if you're able to produce those big hits, those big boy ones.
Yeah.
What do you got for them?
Yeah. So for the Brewers, for me, it's just can the bullpen settle down? Because their starting rotation has been very good. They're hitting, while it has had some weak spots, like you said, in power, they're still doing their job there. The bullpen is really what worries me with this team. Right now, they are, right now they have high ERAs on a lot of guys, which obviously it's not everything, but their true closer isn't pitching like a true closer right now, and that's Abner Uribe. Again, not bad, but he's not really far and away the closer, and the other guy who could be a closer, McGill, hasn't exactly won that job either. They don't really have a true closer. They have a bunch of guys who can be closers but aren't pitching like closers right now. And they kind of need to figure that out, because Uribe, very good pitcher. McGill, very good pitcher. We saw it last year. We saw what they were doing. They haven't had that same success this season.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously they even despite having one of the top overall pitching staffs in the league, their success from the bullpen versus the rotation, like a lot more of their success has come from the rotation. They still have like a good bullpen, like they're pitching well, like they're top 10 in bullpen ERA, whatever, but their starters ERA is definitely better, right? And you know what I mean? Like, can we just settle down? Like, we need guys to really find themselves a lot more. Abner Uribe last year was one of the nastiest pitchers in the league. He was disgusting. And now he's just kind of like, all right, well, let's hold on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and to add on, right now, currently as we're recording, the Brewers are up 6-0 over the Yankees. Jacob Mizorowski, 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 11 strikeouts. The offense puts up 6 runs, 0 home runs. So that's kind of the moral of it. The rotation, the starting pitcher, absolutely great. The hitting, they're getting the runs even though they're not using the long ball. Now it's up to the bullpen to hold it down. It's the 8th inning, they're up 6-0. They'll be fine. But
should be.
It's those games where it's like, let's say it's 4-2 or 4-3 or something like that. That's when, it gets a bit scary. But, obviously they don't, like you said, they don't need to hit home runs to be good offensively, but it definitely helps, because there are games where you're not getting those string of hits together where it's like 5 or 6 hits in an inning that score like 2 runs. Sometimes you just need someone to crush one, put it into the seats, get a run up the board, because you don't get any other hits in an inning. So,
and those empty rallies, so to speak, happen a lot more than I think of people, not even just with the Brewers, I just mean in general, like a lot more than I think a lot of people would like to admit, where, you get 1, maybe 2 singles, and then the rally just dies, right? Those innings where you string a whole bunch of singles and doubles together and you get 4 or 5 runs in an inning, those don't happen very often. You know what I mean? And it's especially hard to, like if you, if your whole offense relies on that, it's really tough to consistently be a top run scoring team. That's why, like, we saw them in the NLCS last year. Like, they couldn't do anything against the Dodgers pitching staff, right? That's one where you need to be able to take them deep, not even just necessarily, hit absolute tanks. I'm talking like you just need extra base hits against a team like that. You can't go ripping singles all day and expect to, absolutely kill the best pitching staffs in the league. No, you're actually playing more into their hands, because they don't have to worry as much about, the big damage being done. So they're a lot more chill with something like that, as opposed to pitching to a high-powered lineup where there's a lot more risk. You hang something, it's gone, right? Like, it's 1-0, it's 2-0, whatever. With this, you don't necessarily have to do that as much. So, all right, what do you have for the Cardinals?
The Cardinals were one of the teams where I didn't really know what to think, and for the panic meter, we didn't really have them high, because it's like they didn't really expect to be where they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, first things first, can Jordan Walker keep it up? Because this is kind of the breakout season we've all been waiting for from him, that everyone's been, waiting for and have been anticipating. And it's here. I mean, it's really here.
It's here. He's been like one of the best players in the league this year.
Yeah. Can he keep that up? And also, I guess it's just kind of, where do you see yourself as a team? Do you see yourself as a team that's going to somehow sneak into a playoff spot? Do you add? What do you do? Or do you just realize, like, we might be ahead of schedule. Let's not do anything too crazy. Let's just, whatever happens this season happens. If we make the playoffs, we make the playoffs. Don't do anything stupid like trading someone who, can be a part of the future just because you think you can make the playoffs and do something now. Because I'll tell you right now, the chances of them actually winning the World Series, let alone making the playoffs, are low. So I just hope they don't do anything stupid where it's like they cash in on one of their younger guys to get like a better player now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're definitely
like trading Lars Nootbaar. That's one thing. Trading a guy like I don't know who, but like someone who like a Mason Wynn or something. That would not be
that's jumping the gun. That's jumping the gun way too much. Yeah, I actually had a really similar question to yours. It was just how legit are all the young guys? And it's basically just a more encompassing, it's just a more broad version of the Jordan Walker question. Like, how legit is Jordan Walker going forward? JJ Weatherholt, like Mason Wynn, like a bunch of these guys. Even on the pitching staff, like Michael McGreevy, like, how legit are all these guys, right? If these guys are legit, you have a seriously nice future. And I'm not kidding, it looks so much better than it did 6 months ago. So much better.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people, like, realize this, but this entire starting lineup is homegrown talent. Every single guy that's currently in their starting lineup was drafted by the team except for one, which was an amateur free agent signing.
And even so, still developed by the team.
Exactly. No, that's what I mean. Like the only one that wasn't drafted was just an international free agent. Like, that's crazy.
Absolutely, man.
That's how you build a team. You hit on your draft pick. So they've done a great job there.
Yeah, if you can't hit on your player development, you're done. Like,
yeah.
It's GG. I'm gonna go over to Pittsburgh. I actually went out of order. I was supposed to do Pittsburgh, then St. Louis, but whatever. Who cares? Don't matter. Pittsburgh. My question for them is: can Bubba Chandler find it this year? He has struggled with a lot of control issues, and honestly, he's gotten hit kind of hard as well. The contact hasn't really been. The quality of contact has not really been in his favor. Not very many ground balls or anything. Like, the stuff is good, but it's not good enough right now to outweigh all of the other problems that he has. Now, granted, the Pirates outside, it's not like the Pirates, like, rotation is not doing good outside of him. Obviously, Paul Skeens, Braxton Ashcraft has been insanely good. Mitch Keller has been really good. Jared Jones is coming. He's coming back. Majinski has been he's been kind of okay. He's been kind of on and off this season, but if Bubba Chandler can find that gear going forward, that we know he has the talent to do. Now, granted, again, he's a rookie. Like, shit happens. If he can kind of find that gear this year, this Pirate staff is almost like it feels untouchable. You know what I mean? If he can find that true self that we know he can be, nobody's touching this staff. Absolutely nobody.
Yeah. For sure. And my question is also similar to what we were saying about PCA. Can we see a little consistency from O'Neal Cruz? Because when he's on, man, is he fun to watch. Man, is he a dangerous hitter. But when he's off, it's hard to watch.
It's tough, man.
And that's bound to happen with the guys who have the profile he does. But it's just, he's so bipolar in the sense of, like, it reminds me of what we talked about Eugenio Suarez after that trade and, like, going into the playoffs, where it's like, he'll have stretches where he'll hit, like, 7 home runs in, like, in a 5-game span, and then he won't hit a home run for the next, like, 20 games. Obviously, it's not like that extreme, but it's like, it's definitely troubling to know that he's never just like consistently average in that sense where like one game he'll go 1 for 4 with a home run, the next game 2 for 4, the next game like maybe 0 for 3 with a walk, and then the next game like 2 for 5 with a home run. It's usually like he'll, you know what I mean, he'll have a game where he's absolutely insane and then a game where he's just literally invisible with like 4 strikeouts.
Yeah, and you know, getting that kind of reduction from O'Neill Cruz, like, you know, which was kind of what we were getting last year. It's not ideal. And this offense looks so much better when he's hitting, right?
Connor Griffin's heating up. He's figuring it out.
That was one of the things that we said coming into the season was like, you know, obviously, you know, you're expecting Brandon Lau to have a good season for you, Ryan O'Hearn, good addition. You're expecting a certain guy.
Brandon Lau's been unreal. By the way,
he's been incredible. He's been ridiculous. One of the things we were talking about was like, if someone like O'Neill Cruz like really gets it going, it completely changes the whole look of the lineup. Completely changes the whole dynamic of the lineup. So, yeah, that consistency makes sense because there's a big difference between a hot O'Neill Cruz and a struggling O'Neill Cruz. All right, we ready to move on to the NL West?
Yeah.
All right. It's time to start with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Ethan, what do you got?
Yeah, so Arizona Diamondbacks currently sit in the middle of that division with a record 2 games under 500. They are currently in the midst of a losing stretch. I mean, a losing streak, but also, you know, just the last 10 games not being great. And they have a get right series right now. It's the struggling New York Mets. What better way to get out of a slump of your own, play another team in a slump? So, look, I don't think this team's been bad, but it's one of those things where we were talking about last week where it's kind of like, you know, maybe some of the moves you made were looking better than originally anticipated. Nolan Arenado's still having a good season. Vargas, I mean, he's been unreal. And honestly, I'll say this too, it's not even that crazy in terms of the production, thinking like, oh wow, they're getting so lucky by seeing what he's able to do, when you think about the fact that Ketel Marte is struggling heavily. So if you average the 2 out, it seems more normal than if you just look at them separate.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, gonna need Ketel. That's probably my question for this team is, can Ketel figure it out? Ketel Marte's consistently been one of the best players in baseball, not even just on the team, not even just at his position, for the last 5, 6, 7 years, right? So, seeing him struggle this bad, it's kind of new territory. We've never seen him struggle quite like this in the major league. And he's been around forever. So it's kind of like, you know, what can we expect? Can we expect him to turn it around? Can he get his numbers anywhere close to what they were last year? It's going to be hard for sure, but obviously he's a major leaguer with you know, lots of experience, so I trust him to figure it out more than I would trust, you know, a rookie or somebody who hasn't consistently put up great numbers. I do expect that Marte will turn it around, but my question is when? When will you heat up? When will you play like yourself? This team can only be as good as your star player takes you when it's a star player like Ketel Marte. Corbin Carroll's carrying his weight. Perdomo's doing the job. Vargas is carrying his weight and some. And then you get Ketel Marte, who's just not quite, you know, where you want him to be. So definitely figuring that out would be awesome if he can, you know, get a hot streak going where he's hitting a couple home runs, just getting a couple hits a night, just getting the feel for the ball again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, he's gonna need to figure it out if they want to do very much. My question for them is, can we finally just pick a direction? Like, I need this team to just hard commit to a direction, whether you want to try and just go all the way in, or whether it is time to say, all right, let's start over. Let's build around like Carroll, Perdomo, these guys. Or again, do you just go all in? Which way is it? Because again, the moves in the offseason, which granted, like some of them are so far working a little bit better. I think we would have envisioned. Like Arenado is one of them. But with that said, like this is still a sub 500 team, and a lot of the roster kind of looks eh. Like this isn't a team that I expect to get hot up until the deadline, but it's not a team that I think is going to be, you know what I mean,
No, and
drafting
then
top tier talent
yeah,
because their roster isn't that bad either.
but the rotation is also absolutely horrible to the point where there's just
Exactly.
they're not going to get you far, and that's why I didn't even include that in my question because it just seems too far gone at this point. There's no way this year this rotation's going to just figure itself out. You're not going to be able to make trades to make it much better because it's not like you need one guy. You kind of need a whole rotation at this point.
We can get one top tier
Eduardo
starter and it's still
Rodriguez
bleak.
is the only guy that's proven that he can be a legitimate pitcher in a rotation, let alone
Which
not even saying just serviceable, but anyone that's been anything solid.
which is
Um,
tough.
but yeah, so that's why my question is, I agree with yours and pick a direction. It's also, when is Cattell going to get it going?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you got for the Colorado Rockies?
Colorado Rockies. So we're talking about how they have some fun players, young players on that team, and we're seeing it. I mean, Chase DeLander has been absolutely unbelievable recently. One of the best pitchers in baseball over the past couple weeks. Um, he obviously started out in the bullpen, worked his way up, which was expected. As for the offense, they still have a bunch of guys who are, having great breakout seasons, if you will. Mickey Moniak's established himself this year as one of the best hitters in baseball. That's not to say he's going to be like that every year, but I mean, he's playing pretty damn good. He's almost, he's almost at his high for home run, excluding last year. So last year he had 24 home runs, and the most he's done before that was 14. And that was in seasons where he had 85 games played and 124 games played for 323 and 418 plate appearances respectively. And he already has 11 and 120 this year. He's definitely figuring it out now. And he's looking like the top prospect that he was once considered back when he was a Philly. And just being kind of a well-rounded guy. He obviously is hitting for more power than he was touted as a prospect because he was more of a, just hitting the ball and fielding guy rather than being able to hit for power. But I guess playing at Coors has unlocked that in him. I saw a crazy stat where it was something along the lines of his WRC plus at home being like 100 points higher than on the road, which it is a park adjusted stat, but like his OPS was also like 500 higher, and it's just like his slugging was almost double at like 800. So definitely benefiting playing at Coors, and that's not like a knock on him because you play where you're put. So. But my question for them is probably at this point is, what direction are you going in? Because it's the same thing with Arizona, but in a less, kind of TikTok, you're on the clock type of thing. They've got a very old pitching staff. It's Chase DeLander and a bunch of guys who are all 33 and older. You got some prospects, no doubt, but not really starting pitching prospects. They don't have any prospects that like you look at in the system at pitcher and be like, okay, this guy is going to be incredible. It's hard to pitch in Coors period, but Chase DeLander was kind of that guy in the sense of being that pitcher. Their top like 6 prospects or 7 prospects or whatever are all hitter. And for a team that plays in a stadium where it's easier to hit, developing pitchers and drafting pitchers and getting good minor league pitching should be a focal point, and they just haven't fully addressed it. I think a trade needs to be made for sure where they trade some of their expendable offensive assets that they have in the minor leagues or even on the roster and get pitching help, because at this point in time, the future of this pitching staff looks very bleak.
Yeah. Yeah, outside
So I
of
guess my question would be like, can you bring me some potential young pitchers in the next couple of years?
yeah, outside of Chase, it does not look very good. And if they don't have a good good foundation for a pitching staff, like for example, like we were talking about the Marlins, how good their foundation is over there, like it's gonna be really hard to build a good team, even later down the line.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be really rough. My question for them is: Has
Down the line mentioned.
down the line mentioned? Shut up. Has Mickey Moniak fully beat the allegations? Now, last year we saw a little bit of a glimpse of it. The guy slugged a little bit over 500, had a 110 WRC plus, .6 WAR in 135 games. This year he's killing the game. He is close to surpassing his previous career high in FWAR, which he had set in 2023 with the Angels at a mark of 1.8. This year he's killing it. The guy has a 176 WRC plus, which again, keep in mind, Parker just the stat, is slugging 700 and has an OPS a bit over 1,000. One of the things that he does really well, you know how he's a hitting fielding guy, not necessarily a power guy, or at least as a prospect, right?
Yeah.
You know something that he's doing so well this year that
What?
when I say this, it's gonna not be very shocking. He's 9th in pulled air percentage.
Yeah.
He's pulling the shit out of that ball, which tells me, right, this guy could go anywhere, and he hit it for power on some level. I don't know if he'd be slugging 700. I don't know about all that, but if he goes literally to any ballpark in the league, except from maybe fucking Wrigley, because Wrigley is just tough. I don't know, or Oracle. This guy would be killing the game. He would be absolutely killing it. Now, the reason I say that's important, I don't know if Mickey Moniak's going to be a huge part of their future, just because I'm pretty sure after next year he's a free agent, if I'm correct.
So,
or is it the year after?
Is this one of the guys that you could say, you know what, let's sell high on him. Let's get a young pitcher that can be a legitimate potential ace. Obviously, you might have to add some stuff depending on the caliber of pitcher going after, but that's one of the guys where I think teams will be very, very intrigued by.
Yeah, it's this or you extend him. It's one of the two things, obviously. I've not seen anything about an extension.
He still has one. Yeah, he still has one more year of ARB, and then he's a free agent at 28. So you do have a little time to make a decision, but I don't know how much higher his value can get at this point.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. I don't really know if he can be producing much better than he is right now, and that's not to say I think he's gonna fall off. I'm just saying he's producing that good right now.
Yeah,
and it's with a pretty sustainable skill set, I'd say. When someone's pulling the ball at this rate, I generally like their power a lot more.
Yeah.
So, again, whether this is a guy who is on the block at the deadline, a team needs a left-handed power bat, need an outfield bat, whatever. This is a guy I think a lot of teams should at least look at. Because, again, no matter where he goes, that's going to be really damn good. Again, he's 9th in pulled air percentage. He's one of the best in the league at pulling the ball in the air, and that is going to translate to power. Power anywhere, mind you. So, that's the real question is, has he really beat the allegations? Because if he has, the Rockies got something right here. All right.
Yeah.
My question for the Los Angeles Dodgers, do you deserve anything good in life? Anything? Do you deserve anything good, bro?
Yeah.
Come on, bro. What are we doing? It is. I've had enough of this team, bro. They're first in the division, as you would expect. In all seriousness, there isn't really much to be concerned about with this team. Their pitching staff's really good. Blake Snell's coming back really, really soon. I guess the big question would be what's going on with some of your hitters, I guess. And the only reason I say that is Ohtani's not playing at superhuman level on offense. And I guess, we've seen better from Freddie Freeman and Kyle Tucker and Will Smith. they have they have a few guys who, again, even if they're still playing really good right now, they're, I guess, underperforming what you'd expect from them out of offense.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not really like they're in trouble anyway. So
It's like when you see Aaron Judge has like a 200 or like a 185 WRC plus or something, and it's like, okay, yeah, he's
it
underperforming.
feels
Because like,
pedestrian.
if any player was had those numbers, it's like, okay, his player's one of the best in the world. But when it's a player who consistently does better and they're doing even a sliver worse, people think that it's they're washed, whatever, that they are underperforming. Which in technicality, yes, they're underperforming, but you know,
Yeah, but
I
like
wouldn't really
they're
say it
still
still.
kind of doing their thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw someone post like some tweet today that was clowning Otani's offensive numbers, and then someone quote tweets that and is like, "We're posting Otani's above average offensive stats. Meanwhile, he's one of the best pitchers in the league right now," which again is really fun to think about. But yeah, it's like you said, like with the Aaron Judge comparison, where it's like, like a 175, 180 WRC plus. He went from being superhuman elite to just regular elite. Um, that's kind of what it feels like with a lot of the Dodgers lineup right now. Again, I think they'll be fine. I don't really think that this is that much of a thing, but you got to choose something, I guess. What do you got?
Yeah, my question is, when does the deal with the devil end?
Yeah. Listen, anyone who sells their soul to the devil eventually, he comes back. He comes back.
Yeah.
So, it's, yeah, it's not the greatest. Honestly, I don't even know if I have much to say more about the Dodgers. You just want to move on to the next team?
Yeah.
All right, what you got for the San Diego Padres?
San Diego Padres. So obviously,
Slam Diego.
the first question that comes to mind is, hey Tatis, can you please hit a fucking home run?
Yeah, that was basically my question too. Was can the Earthworm survive Tatis?
Look, it gets to a point. You have your pull air percentage is like almost less than 5. It's at a point where just Jesus Christ, dude, just pull the baseball.
Yeah,
Like, I get frustrated at Vlad not hitting the ball in the air a lot, but I couldn't even imagine being a Padres fan right now with Tatis. Like, obviously the team's playing well. Obviously he's still hitting the ball
really hard.
Not great, but it's promising. Whereas, you know what I mean? It's like, just hit the ball in the air.
You at least see him hit a rocket, even if it's right at somebody or it's on the ground. You're like, okay, like hold on,
like this is somebody who hit 42 home runs only like 5 years ago. And it's not like every year since then has been like 5 home runs, 5 home runs. It's been like 25, 21, 25. I'm looking at it now. I didn't just like guess it. But yeah, like 0 home runs. That is a very big drop off. And for those who don't know how to do the math, that means he's on pace for 0 as well. So would that be good?
I don't think so, especially from someone on that big of a contract.
And again, it's obviously something like he's not going to finish the season with 0 home runs, but it really gets to a point where it's like you gotta find a way to just hit one out, dude.
Yeah,
like it doesn't need to be 500 feet. It can be a 340 wall scraper. Just hit one out of the stadium, man.
Yeah, and that's why we put so much emphasis on pulling fly balls. Was you don't have to hit them 440 every time. You don't have to hit absolute tanks to get them out of the yard, as opposed to if you're going dead center every time. You can, hit them not quite as far, but if you're pulling it, you're just making, there's a better chance it's going to go out anyways. But again, this guy, he's not pulling the ball in the air. He's hitting so many balls on the ground. Like, over almost 53% of his batted balls are on the ground. That's not good. That is not good for someone who's supposed to be a big-time run producer. Hitting the ball on the ground is not how you produce offense. You need your line drives, you need your fly balls, which, to be fair, he's hitting a lot of line drives, but he's not hitting any fly balls.
Yeah.
And again, it's going to be really hard to produce big-time power numbers if you're not hitting any fly balls. So...
yeah. And on top of that, if you're not hitting fly balls, and an even lower percentage of them are actually being pulled.
Yeah. This is...
not a recipe for power, that's for sure.
And also, on the topic of pulled fly balls, another thing that kind of goes, unnoticed or under talked about sometimes is how detrimental it can be to hit a lot of oppo fly balls, and he's currently doing that at the highest rate of his career, 23.5%. That's also not ideal. If you're hitting oppo ground balls, you can produce some offense that way. But if you really want to produce big time, some numbers that are really going to light up the scoreboard, you do not want to hit balls in the air to the opposite side a lot. That's not an ideal outcome.
I will say being in the 98th percentile on hard hit percentage with 0 home runs is kind of insane.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Listen, that first home run, Padres fans are going to be getting turned.
Like, that's the thing with baseball. 1 home run is all it could take. He can hit 1 home run and then go on an absolute scorching streak where he hits like 10 in a 2-week span or something.
He could hit a Kendrys Morales 7 home runs, 7 days type of thing.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully he doesn't end up celebrating like Morales, but...
Yeah, hopefully not. That would not be ideal. But yeah, go easy on the earthworms, buddy. For the Giants, my question. Are we cooked? Are we cooked?
Yeah.
Are we cooked here? So, I don't even just mean in the fact that, they're sub 500 or whatever. There's some kind of concerning stuff here. Like, Matt Chapman isn't playing very well, and he's, 33 years old.
Here, I'll ask this question. You ready?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Is it too late to get James Tibbs back?
As tough as it's going right now, and as much as I don't want to believe that Rafael Devers is cooked, because, it's just hard for me to wrap my head around right now, my God, it does not look good for the Giants right now. I can't lie. As much as I have clowned on this trade from the Red Sox perspective, right now it's not looking that much better from the Giants perspective either. It's looking like one of the rare lose-lose trades.
I honestly think that if the Red Sox at least had Tibbs still, they didn't make that trade for Dustin May, at least you can have that going for you and say, hey, at least we got a guy who's
absolutely, because
contributing even if it is in AAA. But at this point, you can't really...
I think at first, even if I didn't love the value they got for Devers at the time, I was thinking, like, okay, the trade can... Like, the whole trade, like, whether it is good or a bad trade, it hinges on how good James Tibbs is. And then you just traded him for nothing. So, there was that. But yeah, like, it's not looking good right now. Like, Devers is not looking very good. Even, like, the tools, like, the hitting tools don't look as good with him. Chapman is not doing good, and again, he's 33 years old. Willie Adames is not looking very good. He's almost 31, has a big amount of money left on his contract. It does not look very good. Even, like, on the pitching side, like, Logan Webb is not pitching as good as you'd want. Really, the only 2 guys really holding out their pitching staff right now is Robbie Ray and Landon Rope. It's just those 2 guys. Everyone else, it's not looking very good. And how much bouncing back can you do? Like, you have a lot of guys, especially in position player core, like some guys are getting a little older. You don't necessarily have the most capital in the world to go out and get a guy at the deadline or whatever. Again, not that at this point you'd want to, but like this isn't a ship that I think you can right its course in a season. So that's why I asked the question: Are we done? Are we cooked? Is it time to say goodbye?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely at the point where you gotta really evaluate everything from top to bottom in the organization and see what you want to do. I mean, Buster Posey's got his work cut out for him, that's for sure.
Yeah, he does. Was your Giants question more or less the same thing, or what was it?
Yeah,
it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, this is a team who's consistently mid, you know what I mean? Literally, like, consistently around the 80 win mark, and now they're looking like
bleak.
They're going to be nowhere near that.
Now it's bleak. They went from mid to, like, it's bleak. I guess we'll switch over to the AL. We'll move over to the AL East. We start with the Baltimore Orioles. What do you got?
Yeah, Baltimore is in a very interesting position. My thing is, what was the one thing that they needed to do in the offseason that everyone and their mother said they needed to do?
It was that damn rotation.
And what did they just completely neglect?
They didn't really add very much to the rotation. They got Shane Vaz.
Chris Bassett and Shane Vaz, great pickups.
Neither
So
of
they
them are
current
that great unless you're trying to
their
like
rotation, yeah, the
stabilize the
rotation
back end.
ranks 26th in ERA, 29th in WHIP, 27 in walks per nine, 24th in K per nine, 25th in home runs per nine. They're not doing, and 30th in hits per nine. They're doing literally nothing well, that rotation.
Yeah.
And like, it just makes, some of the decisions they made that much more baffling, where it's like, just why? Like, I'm not saying that going after Pete Alonso was a bad move, but like, was that more important than going after a front end starter? Really?
Yeah, like a Framber, a Ranger, whoever else. Um,
Well,
okay, well, all right.
I know,
Hey, it's the process here, man.
I know. That's the thing, because if you sign a guy like Framber Valdez and he doesn't have a good year and it doesn't work out, at least you can say like, "Hey, we got one of the better guys on the market." You can't just say, "Oh, we got Chris Bassett," and if he's not playing well, be like, "Oh, well, we tried our best," because that's just not fixing anything. That's, like you said, that's a move you make if you need a five starter, a guy who's like a 5/6 bullpen guy who's like, just another arm. That's not a guy. That's not a move you make when you're looking to beef up the front end of the rotation. That's not a move you make when you're trying to solidify a rotation in terms of having him come in as like a 2 or a 3 guy, pitch a lot of innings, and be consistently good. That's not the move you make. The Shane Boss trade, again, that's just not the move you make in that scenario. And a lot of their problems can easily be pinpointed back to just either not willing to spend, or when you do finally spend, it's just not on the right things, because we see that a lot where teams spend just to spend. They're not necessarily spending on the players or the spots where they need the most help, or when they need, desperately need the help for. So, seeing them give all that money away to like Pete Alonso, and then, making the trade for Taylor Ward, which I think was a great trade. I'm not saying that was a bad trade by any means, but it gets to the point where at what point you just say, okay, maybe we're not gonna bring in a big free agent bat. Let's get a pitcher this year. Let's fix this rotation. Let's get a guy who's a legit, 1 or 2 guy. Because imagine they had just, I'm not saying they need to fork over Dylan Cease money, but like a guy like Michael King would have been absolutely massive, and that's
Yeah.
why I actually predicted them to sign and said that would be awesome. Obviously ended up staying, so who knows if he was even willing to go, but it's just it's really tough when you look at some of the options that were available and how they're doing versus how the guys you picked were doing, when you kind of just were choosing bottom of the barrel guys, not really guys who are considered by many to be elite pitchers in any capacity.
Yeah, and even the guys that they have who were already supposed to be good, I'm talking like Kyle Bradish, Trevor Rogers before he was put on the IL, they already have not been pitching very well, right? Obviously, like
Yeah,
the moves with Boz and Bassett, the hope was that Bradish and, Rogers would hold it down, right? Which, sure, I get it.
yeah,
But, like, now they're not. And it wasn't the most unpredictable thing to think that you were going to see some level of regression from both those guys. I didn't think it would be this. Now, granted, they could
and
still
yeah,
figure it
and
out the rest of the season. But, like,
that's exactly why you need to go after a front end starter, because
exactly.
if you were to get a guy who is, undoubtedly better than those guys, and then you're pushing guys like Rogers and Bradish deeper into that rotation, you're getting a deep rotation and a rotation that can compete with any other rotation. That's why getting guys like, for example, the Blue Jays, they could have just, gone after Cody Ponce and call that, the offseason in terms of the pitching front, in the sense of, hey, we got a guy to get like a 5 starter. We already have Gausman, we have Savage, we have Bieber, whatever. But they said, no, we want to make this one of the better rotations. we're going to get Dylan Cease, and we're also going to get a guy that could be like a 5-starter.
Exactly.
Obviously, unfortunate about the injury to Ponce, but like, that's the thing. You get a guy to be that ace. You can't have too much starting pitching. You can't have too much pitching. That's not a real thing, having too much pitching, because,
Absolutely.
first of all, you don't know who's going to get hurt. You don't know who's going to perform well. And the big thing is also, you can always trade guys after the fact. Like, let's say you sign a guy to a relatively long deal, and it's like, okay, this guy's absolutely incredible. You could trade a guy that you don't really have a fit for anymore and get assets and make the team better in other spots. So it just really makes them not going after a top end starter even more baffling for a team that's trying to contend in one of the toughest divisions in sports.
As weird as it was then, it looks even worse now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like my question for them too. Is can your rotation figure it out on any level? Can someone figure something out? I don't think they have a single start qualified pitcher whose ERA is below 4. Like it's
And that's the thing, you can't even really blame the pitchers, because it's not like these are guys who are, elite pitchers that are just pitching poorly. It's just a terribly, built rotation, in the sense of, even if they're all playing the best baseball they can play, is it even going to be enough then?
Yeah, and that's a big part of the issue.
I mean, what is a best case scenario Chris Bassett look like in the year 2026? I don't know.
Yeah, especially like with how he's already started. Like, what can you even salvage?
Yeah.
I think we can move on to the Red Sox. My big question for them is, can you get something out of your lineup right now? Can you get something?
Yeah.
They already had some question marks revolving around their lineup coming into the season, and mostly revolved around the power. Even if I thought they could be around like the 10 to 15 mark in terms of like maybe like runs scored or whatever, they've been far below that. They have a lot of guys in that rotation, like regular, who are just not cutting it. Like they are not even at the league average offensive level. They're we talked about this last week where, you know what I mean? You only have 3 above average hitters, which means that you are getting guys in big run producing spots. Like, for example, you're going to be hitting someone in the top 4 of your lineup who is a below average hitter. Like, their lineup just is not good right now. It was going to be one of their weaker spots already, but already now it's like, it's so much worse than you could have imagined.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, you got the issues of, Jarren Duran, because they should have traded him a couple years ago. Waiting this long made no sense when you have Rafaela, you have Wilyer Abreu, you have Roman Anthony. Like, it just didn't really make sense to hold on to him, and now he's regressing to what a lot of people in the baseball world predicted him to be around.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously maybe not to this extent, but still at the end of the day, being bad is bad. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're very bad or extremely bad. Like, it's the same thing in reality. He's not close to a league average bat, and he's not doing enough with his glove to make up for it. It's not like he's playing platinum glove level defense where it's like, okay, that's why he's in the lineup. And, can't even use the excuse that I made, or like the joke. I wouldn't even say it's fully a joke, but what I was saying last year of like, oh, they're like Devers away from having a deadly lineup. One thing I'm noticing is, their infield is horrid. Wilson Contreras has been great with, playing first base, but then you have Story, whose WRC plus is 40. Marcelo Mayer, 81. Narvaez, technically part of that infield, 65. Durbin, 46. And it just makes them not retaining Bregman that much more baffling, because how do you not even replace him? Like, I can't say that Wilson Contreras was the Bregman replacement. I think that was a guy they were going to get regardless. But it's just the fact that they didn't do anything to improve that infield for the most part. First base is the only position they upgraded. And when you consider what they had in Devers, before the trade versus now, it's not even like a year-to-year huge upgrade. It's kind of just like, yeah, whatever, we finally got our Devers replacement. And then they refused to replace what they lost this past season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially with, a lot of the stuff that's been coming out about, like, the managers and stuff, the firings and all that. So it's definitely tough. So you gotta figure something out, man.
Yeah.
You gotta figure something out. What do you got for the New York Yankees?
The Yankees, I mean, my question is, can Garrett Cole come back and pitch at Garrett Cole level? Everything's going right for this team right now. And they're even calling up, they call up their top prospect who has been absolutely mashing the baseball for, as a light way of putting it. And it's just, what are we going to get from Garrett Cole? If Garrett Cole is able to be Garrett Cole, then I don't see a team in the American League even coming close to the Yankees. If he comes back and he's okay, he's not Garrett Cole, but he's putting up okay numbers, I still don't really see many teams coming close to them in the AL. They're just such a strong team that doesn't have any insanely glaring weaknesses. I mean, the bullpen was the big thing last year that was struggling, but they've really kind of been able to put it together for the most part. They don't really have the bullpen depth, but they have some guys they can trust for the most part. Bednar, Hill, Cruz definitely could use some work, but getting Cole back and pushing one of their other pitchers into the bullpen could also make that better. I mean, they still have Rodon, who had surgery. I don't know what his return looks like and how his rehab, like what that looks like, his schedule, but definitely once they get some guys healthy, the team's just going to get even better, and the depth is just going to be absolutely nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a similar question. It was, how good are Cole and Rodon going to be like when they come back? Both of them are going to be coming off injuries. Rodon is really close to being back. He could be starting on Sunday, which, depending on when you're listening.
Yeah, like I knew he was starting rehab. I didn't know exactly where he was in the rehab.
Yeah, he's made a few starts. I think he made his third start. They're saying he very well could come back on Sunday.
Did he intentionally hit any batters?
As far as I know, he did not.
So he's progressing better than Cole. Good to know.
He is. But yeah, like Rodon's gonna be back probably on Sunday. Cole's gonna be back. He's working his way back. Those two, if they can be, I'm not even saying that you need Cy Young Garrett Cole and you need like 2022 Carlos Rodon. I'm not even saying that, right? Because that's
because Cam Schlittler has been pitching, like, unbelievable. You also have Max Fried. You also have Weathers, who's been good. Like, if Garrett Cole comes back and he's the third best pitcher on the team,
you're fine.
Then that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
You don't need him to be the best pitcher on the team when you have Schlittler and Fried doing what they're doing.
Exactly. If these guys can just come back and just be good, you're chilling. Like, you're honestly chilling. You don't need very much from them.
Yeah.
For the Tampa Bay Rays, what do you got for them? Actually, you know what?
I don't really know exactly what this team even is. Like, it's safe to say that they were missing the Trop Devil magic. I guess my question is this roof able to contain hurricane-like conditions? That's my question for the Rays.
I was asking, is this sustainable? Because, it might need to. That might be what it has to do. When you look at how this team is playing, right? Obviously, they are on a stupid high win pace. They're on pace for damn near close to 110 wins, something like that. I don't know what the exact number is, but I know it's close to that. But you go and you look, and they're 21st for position player WAR. They are, where are they in pitching WAR? I know that
the fielding's not great. The relievers aren't great. But the rotation has been.
WAR. Here they are.
Yeah.
Again, 20. That's not a team that's gonna have a 670 winning percentage. It's not that kind of team. You know what I mean? This is a team that the Toronto Blue Jays are exceeding them in both position player and pitching WAR, and that is a team that is below 500. So how much of the Rays' current play is actually sustainable? I would like to think that a lot of their top guys like Yanni Diaz, Junior Caminero, obviously those guys are just chilling, right? But is a guy like Steven Matz gonna keep doing what he's doing for the whole season? I have a really...
I'm gonna have to say probably not.
You know what I mean? I have a I have a tough time with something like that, right? Nick Martinez, I'm sorry he's not putting up this level of production for the whole season. Like, I'm sorry, it's not happening. Like, it's just simply not happening. So that's why I gotta ask, like, how much are you really gonna get out of this?
Yeah.
Like, this level of play, because you're not gonna get this level of winning out of it. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So we'll see how that goes. It's the Toronto Blue Jays. What do you got? What do you got for them?
Yeah, I mean, Blue Jays obviously struggling. We see that firsthand. My thing is, can the bats just come alive? There's been no consistency in offense. What made the team so good last year was that they didn't strike out. They, were able to kind of slug as well as getting, rallies going, like we
It
said.
was both.
And they just can't get anything going. It just seems like they'll be able to hit a couple singles here and there. That's it. Won't drive them home. Won't hit that big home run to drive them home. They just kind of get a couple hits, and then a lot of their runs come off of, stuff like that, rather than just, having a guy like Springer hit a big home run, and then Vlad hits one, and then, you know, right now it's just kind of Okamoto's the only one who's been consistently slugging, and everyone else has just been struggling for the most part in that sense, and also just not playing, you know, that good offensively in general, and it's tough. I mean, it's definitely tough. So I guess my question is, can the offense just wake up?
Mine was kind of similar. It's like, what happened to their offensive approach? One of the things last year that was happening from the years before was they were hitting the ball a lot harder. They were being more selective, and they were putting better swings on the ball. They weren't afraid to whiff when they needed to. If it meant that the swings that they made contact on, they were going to get better results out of those. This year, so I saw this tweet earlier today, and I decided to save this. This is obviously before all of today's games, so some of these might have changed. These are the longest plate appearance streaks since their last walk, right?
I saw that.
Out of the top 10 are Blue Jays. Lennon Sosa and Andres Jimenez are 1 and 2. Tyler Heineman is 6, and Jesus Sanchez is 10.
Which, admittedly, two of those guys are not everyday players, just with the injuries they have been.
Which, I mean, yes, to be fair, but even so, the approach of last year is just not there right now. And again, some of these guys weren't here last year, whatever. Actually, most of two of those guys weren't there. But, like, that approach is what made the Blue Jays offense so good last year. That's what made them one of the best and most deadly and most hard to pitch to lineups in the whole league. They didn't chase very much. They could slug a little bit too. But now they're chased so much. They chase so much more. The at-bats this year look so much worse than they did last season. And I understand they started the year off poorly last year too, and the at-bats kind of looked ugly early last year too. But, like, we can't, just because it happened last year doesn't mean that we can just comfortably go, yeah, it's going to be fine. They're going to, just completely catch fire in June and then cook everyone from June through August, right? It would be ideal if that did happen, but we can't just rely on that happening every single time that a slow start happens. Like, eventually we gotta, we gotta get ahead of the curve, right? And a lot of the reason they can't this year is because of their offensive approach. The A swings are not entirely there. Guys have lost bat speed. Dalton Varsho his bat speed is lower. He's not pulling the ball nearly as much. He's hitting balls more on the ground. He's, like, going away from all of his strengths and a lot of those things that gave him such good results, and albeit limited games last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not happening for them this year.
Hopefully, Popkins can work his magic once the guys get healthy and have a second half similar to last year.
I need that. For the White Sox, my question for them is, how are we going to handle our breakout players? They have quite a few right now.
Yep.
Of players that are just having straight breakout seasons. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, the big one is Murakami, Davis Martin.
Antonacci's looked great in his limited plate appearances.
Yup, absolutely. Like, what are we gonna do with these guys? And
Yeah,
like, you look at Murakami, he's only got the 2 years. You look at Davis Barton, he's 29. So we look at some of these guys, and ideally, I would want to say like these are guys are going to be part of the core of the future, whatever. But can you guarantee that a guy under a 2 year contract and another guy who's 29 years old are part of the future? I don't
yeah,
know if you can guarantee that.
yeah. My thing is, my question's similar. It's kind of like, what's the decision looking like on Murakami? Because a lot of people are saying they should trade him, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea because the way he's playing, he's looking like he's squashing any doubts that anybody, including me, has had on his ability to hit the baseball. And it's one of those things where if you can get a legitimate haul, this is a type of player who's young enough and good enough to the point where you could get a franchise altering trade package for him. I think you have to do that.
Absolutely. Like you at bare minimum, I think you have to look at it. I don't know if I would.
Yes.
I don't know if I would say you have to or like you shouldn't do
Right.
it.
But that it's
But
definitely a
you have.
conversation that needs to happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you need to at least have the conversation. You need to look into it. You need to see what your options are, what you're offered, whatever, right? Or maybe you extend him. Maybe you go the other way. Who knows? But you have to look at all your options here because you don't know what's going to happen. The worst thing that happens, like, the 2 years go by and then he signs somewhere else, then, we're just. Now you're back
Yeah.
to square one. And then you have to figure it out again.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you got for Cleveland? The Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah. So first and foremost, we were talking about Parker Messick a lot in the last one. He has been absolutely incredible. Gavin Williams has been very good. Joey Cantillo, I'm not sure what the proper pronunciation is, but he's also been, very good. The depth of that rotation could use some work, but pitching, I would say, is in a good spot for them. What's not in a good spot is their slugging ability for the most part. They have a couple guys who are able to hit home runs at will. Guys like Jose Ramirez, a guy like Chase DeLauder. A lot of their team is built, and obviously Manzardo, who hasn't really shown it this year. Their offense isn't built on the ability to really hit the long ball. But right now they're in first place like they typically are because it's just, what happens. Similar devil magic, I guess. So my thing is, can this team continue doing what they are doing right now without having to rely on the long ball? Because we've seen them do it, but now they have a couple more power guys in the lineup than they did over the past couple of years. And I think a big question is this specific Guardians team built to sustain it? Because they've had some turnover over the past couple of years, for sure.
My question for the Guardians is, can they survive like a Central like bouncing back? Not that I think that the Central teams are like all really good, but like I would argue that I think the Tigers are going to end up playing better for a good chunk of the season. Well, I guess we'll see with how school's out, and the Royals too, even on a certain level. And how much are the Guardians going to be able to survive that? Because 24 hours ago, like there was not a team in the Central above 500. Like,
Right.
let's keep that. Let's keep it a $1.50. It was not that long ago, like literally 2 days ago. All five teams in the Central were below 500. So, eventually, one of these teams, whether maybe it's Cleveland, who knows, or it's Detroit, or it's KC, one of these teams is gonna really get it going, right? They're just gonna hit a hot streak, and if the other teams don't do it at the same time, that one team is gonna run away with the division, at least for a little bit. So my question is, can Cleveland really survive that? Right? Because
Yeah.
they've been playing like okay, but again, like 2 days ago, they were sub 500. Their pitching staff for the season, you know what I mean? They've been okay. Like they're 18th in WAR, they're 12th in ERA. Amongst pitchers. For position players, they're 14th in WAR. Like, it's not like a particularly great great squad you have here, 18th in WRC plus. You know, like the pitching staff is fine. The lineup isn't really that great, but it's like, how much is this? Like, is this this isn't something I look at and I say, yeah, this is a first place team. And again, if another Central team gets hot, they probably snatch the Guardians chain.
Yeah, for sure.
On that note, with the Tigers, since I just kind of mentioned them, can they survive without Scooble? Because that boy just hit the IL. He had elbow surgery to, I believe it was removing loose bodies in his elbow. I believe that's what it was.
Yeah.
So, again, not ideal. I think the initial timeline, albeit apparently he had like a really successful surgery, and his timeline got like moved up a lot. But the original timeline was maybe like 2 months. Now it's looking like a month, maybe a month and a half. How much are you going to be able to survive without Scooble, right? Now, keep in mind this is a rotation that is already losing Casey Mize right now. They're already without him, right?
Right.
Framber Valdez has, even outside of the suspension thing, hasn't been particularly great. Justin Verlander is on the injured list right now, and he was supposed to give you some rotation depth this season too. So your rotation is kind of shot right now, right? So
yeah,
even with the loss of depth, you can at least look at Tarek Skubal and you can say, all right, we have the best pitcher in baseball going on the bump every 5 days. On these days, no matter what happens, we have a really good chance to win a ball game. You do not have that for, at minimum, the next 4 weeks. Bare minimum for the 4 weeks, you do not have that. Specifically, just in his case, you gotta hope that Framber bounces back and whatever else goes your way. Because if not, it's not gonna be the greatest. It's not gonna look too pretty.
No, not at all.
What did you have for them?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just kind of. I agree with that too. I mean, it really comes down for a lot of teams. Injuries can obviously, the wrong guy gets injured, derail the season. But when you're in a position like the Tigers are, where your rotation is already bare and already as injured as it is, losing a guy like Scooble can derail a season if it's for an extended period of time. Luckily, it's nothing too serious, but they still need to, they have a couple big games coming up against a divisional rival in Kansas City, and without some of their best pitchers, it's really going to be tough to win. And on top of that, this is also a Tigers team that has relied on pitching so much over the past couple of years, so the offense really needs to step it up. There are some guys who I think are up for the challenge, but there are others who we need to see. This could be a very big, pivotal moment for some of these hitters in this lineup.
Yeah, they're gonna need to step up. Especially
they for sure have their work cut out for them.
That rotation being down, it's gonna they got the work cut out. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
For KC, Kansas City Royals. What's your question for the Royals here?
Question for the Royals. First of all, it is gonna be can Cole Reagans come back from injury and take a leap back to what he can be, or is he gonna still have these struggles, as well as can some of these players offensively can Vinny Pasquantino start hitting his weight, hitting what he can do? Can, Carter Jensen get hot again? Because he was one of the better hitters in baseball for a good stretch, but obviously has cooled down now. Salvador Perez has been, very uninspiring. So can this offense kind of, get hot, I guess. I don't know if get hot or just right the ship would be a better way to put it, but
they got to get something going. My thing was it was a Cole Reagans one. It was what can you get from Cole Reagans? Now, Obviously, he just went on the IL. But before that, he wasn't pitching particularly great this season. Last year, there was the injury stuff. And again, when he was healthy last season, he wasn't pitching particularly well either. We know what he can be because we saw what he was in 2024, right? And even the second half of 23 after he got traded there, he was nasty. We know what Cole Reagans can be. He can be absolutely disgusting, right? When he's on, he can be one of the best pitchers in the league. Yeah. But he hasn't been that when he's pitched this year and last year.
No, so that's definitely something that they're going to have to figure out, and he's going to have to, figure out. But hopefully, the time on the IL can be used as like a mental reset too for him. Like not just, getting back, making sure everything's physically healthy, but also getting in the mindset of I'm a really damn good pitcher, and what was seen so far this season isn't who I am.
Yeah, that's something that they're going to need. I don't think that this team can get to a postseason appearance if Cole Reagans is not pulling his weight.
No.
I just don't think it can happen, bro. So, yeah. For the Minnesota Twins.
My question is, did you guys get Josh Bell?
Yeah, did
and
you
Victor
get
Caratini?
What about Victor
No.
Caratini?
But lot to unpack with these Minnesota Twins.
Woo, it's bleak, man. It's bleak.
They started off really good, too.
They did. They were like above 500. I think there was a brief period where they had division lead, if I remember correctly. Like they started off pretty okay. And then, it kind of came back down to earth where a lot of people kind of expected. And then it's like, oh yeah, this team isn't very good. Shocker.
Yeah.
One of the big things for me is Luke Keeschel has not gotten off to a good start. Now, it's been hitting a little bit better as of late, but my big thing here is, can we get that big full season from Luke Keeschel? We saw him in just under 50 games last season, and he was hitting really well. He hit over 300. He was pretty disciplined at the plate. He had a OBP over 380. Had a 134 WRC plus. This year, the WRC plus is down to 75. He has struggled, right? He's not doing much of anything.
Also, Royce Lewis playing how he's playing and Matt Wallner playing how he's playing is not going to cut it.
Did you see that Royce Lewis quote?
What was it?
Where he's like, oh my god, wait, hold on, let me pull it up, because, let me find it really quick. Let me pull it up. Alright, so, he said this, right? Wait, fuck, where'd it go? Hold on, let me find it. Okay, so, he said, it feels like people around here sometimes are waiting for me to struggle so that they can write me off officially or get me out of here. I hate to be that guy, right? But, I mean, it's not like he's been playing particularly great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Over
and
the last
also,
few years.
What I don't like about that is that you don't want people to write you off, but fucking play good. Don't worry about what the fans think. Just play good.
We know Royce Lewis. We've seen him do it before in that little brief stint in 2023.
Unfortunately, against us.
Yeah. Okay. We didn't need to talk about that part of it.
Wow.
We saw what he can be in 2023 in that brief stint in those 50 some games where he was up later in the season. He was killing it. He had a 2.5 WAR in 60 games almost. He was really fucking good. And then after that, he wasn't very good. Since the start of 2024, he's played in 211 games, accumulated 817 plate appearances, and has put up 1.9 FWAR. That's not good. That's not very good at all.
No.
So, again, I hate to be that guy, because I don't... I don't get joy in trashing on people, but I'm also like, buddy, like you haven't been playing very good either. Like I don't know what you were talking
Yep.
about in terms of waiting for people to write you off. Like you just haven't been playing very well. It's that simple. Like you can just say
And
you're
it's
not playing
funny
good.
because this isn't. He wants to be like an underdog too, it seems like, with that quote. But you were picked first overall. Obviously, people are going to be writing you off if you're not playing well.
Exactly. Like
Like, I just don't get the expectation there, to be honest.
there's a certain level of expectation when you go first round, let alone 1-1. Right? You're the first overall
Yeah.
pick in a draft. There's going to be some level of expectation. People are going to be looking at you different. Right? They're going to have a level of expectation that they are going to want you to meet. And very briefly, it looked like he was going to fucking blow those expectations out of the water. And then he's like nowhere close to exceeding them. He's very much disappointing to his expectations. But again, if he could tap back in to that gear that he had, and again, it's not something we haven't seen before. If he can tap back into it, he can actually completely flip this narrative on its head. But he has to do it first. So, you know. Do you want to go on to the next team?
Yeah.
All right. The Athletics. What do you have for them?
Athletics. We talked about them for a while, about the panic level and how the team offensively is, where you want them to be. My question is, can we get some more from the pitching? And that's not to say that this is a great pitching staff that's just underperforming. Not a great pitching staff. So definitely need to see more from them. I guess the question would more so not just mean from like this season, but like in the next couple of years, can we see some pitchers come up, make some noise? Gage Jump looks very good. Jamie Arnold can be, a dog in the future. Like, they have some names, but, well, I guess my question would be, like, can we see some improvement now? Or are we going to have to wait until the prospects come up?
Yeah. Um, yeah, my question for them was, like, can the pitching just do enough for you? Which, I mean, I guess both ways, like, if you want to do something this season, currently they're first in the AL West right now. But if they want to maintain that, or even if they don't maintain a first in the division spot, maintain a wildcard spot, you're going to need something from your pitching staff. You are not going to reach a postseason spot or be in those hopes if you just cannot do it on one side of the ball. We know what the lineup can do. We've seen it. We saw it last year. We're seeing it again this year. But again, we need that pitching staff to kind of come in, right? You need to hold it down because the lineup isn't going to score 6 runs every single night, right? There's going to be the odd night here and there where they go up against an absolute dog. They go up against a Terry Skubal or like a Garrett Crochet or like guys like that, and they have their way with this lineup. And if the pitching staff on the other end is going to give up 5 runs every night, anytime you're facing someone like that, like, it's done, right? So
Yeah.
all I'm asking, I'm not even asking for anything super crazy from the pitching staff. I'm saying, can you give them enough, just enough to get by? That's the only question.
And with the offense being as good as it is, you don't even need to have like a top 5 pitching staff. If it's league average, then that team's going to be pretty damn good.
Oh, absolutely. My question for the Astros: is it over? Is it over? Is it done?
Unfortunately for them, I think it's looking like it.
I think it's time to ride into the sunset. Right? I think it's time to say, listen, we had a good run, but I think it's time to hit the reset button.
Say, we need to get some prospects. I guess we'll send Jordan to the Jays for a couple, for some magic beans.
I do like that. I think that's a pretty good. Like,
But no, in seriousness though, I don't really know what you could even do. I mean, it's gotten to a point where you just kind of gotta accept that that's it from this like core, this group.
I think I saw someone say Like, oh, they don't need to do that. They just need to get some pitching. And I'm like, they need a lot of fucking pitching. Like,
That's
if
the
they
thing,
don't,
and
like, they have to get so much pitching.
if you want to get pitching, you're gonna have to trade a chunk of your offense, and that would just make the offense not good because you're not going to trade your top prospects, and it's not even like a deep prospect pool either.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just kind of like, okay, if we want to be competing in any point in the next 10 years, we should probably start to trade off some of our older players, guys who don't have a true direction with the team, and give some of the younger guys a chance. I mean, at this point, it just, you know what you have in Altuve, you know what you have in Correa, you know what you have in these guys, and it's just, with all the injuries that just keep piling up as well, I just don't see a world in which this is a team that's competing for a playoff spot come October.
Exactly. You would love to say, like, it's injuries, like, to figure itself out. But when it's an older group, they're going to be a little more prone to it. You know what I mean? It's not like these are all guys that are 25, right? Like, these are a lot of guys that are on the wrong side of 30. So, you know what I mean? Like, as much as it's unfortunate to say, but, especially when you're rostering some injury-prone guys nonetheless, like, it sucks that Carlos Correa had the ankle injury and now he's out for the season, but can I say I'm the most surprised person on earth? No. Even Jordan has his injury history, right? So, like, if you cash in on him at the deadline or in the offseason or whatever it is, you're probably selling it, I would think, like an all-time high value, I would think, right?
Yeah,
Especially
you would definitely think.
Especially since, like, there's some guys on this roster that, like, aren't going to be moved. Like, no, like, Altuve's not going to get moved. Number one, semantics. Number two, I don't really think anyone wants Altuve. For
If
multiple
you're gonna
reasons.
trade for a if you're going to trade for a guy who's either, up there in age or a second baseman, there are better options on both fronts of a
Yeah.
guy who can play second base and guys who are just older who won't cost that much. Like, I don't know. If I'm a team that's contending, I'm not looking at Altuve and thinking, oh, this is a prime piece to add to this roster to make us a
Exactly.
World Series contender in 2026.
Exactly. He's not doing much for you. And he's also not doing much for the Astros at this point. Like, he's, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And, I mean, listen, everyone in their career, they get to a point, right? With all due respect. But there's, a lot of guys on this team where they aren't quite doing it as well as they once were. And again, it's okay. It's all okay, right?
Yeah.
But again, I think it might be time, man. I think it might be time. Maybe it turns into a little bit more of a retool than like a full.
It's
rebuild,
like the rabbit with the clock meme right now.
That's the Astros right now. Like, the clock is ticking on them.
Yeah.
The clock is so ticking. What do you got for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim?
Where do I start?
It's depressing. It is depressing.
My question is this going to be Mike Trout's legacy? That's my question.
Mine was another Mike Trout question. It was, how much more magic does Mike Trout have?
I mean, it just sucks because he can't even use the excuse of like, oh, he's been hurt the whole year. Oh, he's not playing great, so obviously the team's not going to be good. He's playing his heart out. He's playing some of the best baseball he's played in years, and yet it just doesn't matter.
He's legitimately playing, like, well, in a regular year, like, MVP level baseball. Unfortunately, that dude on the Yankees exists.
And that other dude on the Yankees too.
Yeah, that other dude on the Yankees. Yeah, unfortunately, those guys in the Yankees exist. But no, he's legitimately been playing like some of the best baseball we've seen him play since he last won his MVP. Well, the last one, 2019. And again, they just can't get it going. Which again, it's been the same old story for the last decade plus with the Angels and Mike Trout. It's like, do you remember the one tweet? It was from when Ohtani was there too, and it's like, the Angel stuff will be like, yeah, Ohtani did this thing that hasn't been done since blah blah blah, and Mike Trout hit 3 home runs as the Tigers beat the Angels 7-4. Like,
yeah, the tungsten armored oil.
Exactly, it's like that exact same thing. and it's been that way
Mike
for like a
Trout hits 4
decade.
home runs, steals 7 bases, robs 6 home runs. Angels fall 11-10 to the Athletics.
Exactly, like it's been the same thing for like like over a decade with the Angels.
Yeah.
Then like Mike Trout will do some crazy, and eventually it was Otani too.
Not getting to the playoffs once with Otani and Trout on the same team
Is
is just
ridiculous.
malpractice from that front office.
Is ridiculous. Like people need to be
Like,
tried.
that's enough to get put on, like, a blacklist and never work in a baseball front office ever
People
again.
need to be tried. People need to be tried in
Yes.
criminal court. That has
Well,
to break
yeah,
some.
well,
That has to break some. Hold on. Hey, wait a minute. People.
well, let's,
Hey, hold on. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that.
yeah, no, I know,
I
I
didn't mean it like
know.
that. I didn't mean it like
I know.
that. But yeah, man, it's tough. You know what? At this point, the only thing we can hope for with the Angels, like, listen, Mike Trout just keeps giving us some cinema. That's really all we can hope for.
Yeah. I respect his his loyalty, but it gets to a point where, like, buddy, baseball fans want you to do what's right for you for once.
We need it.
Like,
I need it.
we want you to play for a
I
contender.
like.
Like, yes, we respect your loyalty and you've done it long enough. You've done it more than anyone could have asked for. Please just go. Baseball wants to see you win a ring, dude.
That's all I want in life right now. I want to see I want to see Mike Trout hoisting a World Series trophy. Unfortunately, it's never gonna fucking happen because this organization's dog shit.
The only way is if he leaves, unfortunately, for him, because I know
Which, good luck.
that's not something he's exactly dying to
That
do.
is
So
something that's probably just not gonna happen. Let
no,
alone not dying to do. It's just not gonna happen. So we'll see. The Seattle Mariners. Can we find a bit of consistency?
yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the common theme here is that teams have been ultra inconsistent.
Especially in the American League.
Yeah, and for a team that's known for having some guys who can just mash, like Naylor, Raleigh, J-Rod, Randy, the offense has been kind of underwhelming.
It has. Like Cal got off to the really slow start, and then he kind of got it going, and then he kind of didn't.
Yeah.
Naylor has just been. Oh, Naylor's been kind of icky.
I wish this Naylor season happened last year so he wouldn't have been starting in the WBC.
That that's diabolical. Yeah, no, Naylor's been stinky. J-Rod has, albeit, it's the slow start gimmick again, albeit it hasn't been nearly as bad as it's been like last year and other stuff. But even so, like, you're expecting certain things from your guys and you're not really getting it. And even on the pitching side, like Luis Castillo's not having he's having a bad year right now. Logan Gilbert's been kind of iffy. Brian Wu had a couple starts where he wasn't doing as great, although, I think his season numbers as a whole are kind of inflated. But you know what I mean? There's guys in that.
Andres Munoz, who's just not been a closing pitcher.
Oh my god, I forgot how bad he's been too. Like, with all due respect, like, these guys are just not.
He's doing a Jeff Hoffman impression.
With all due respect, these guys who are supposed to be some of the top guys on this team are not doing a thing. Like, they're not giving you what you want. And for a team that was favored to be one of the top teams in the AL this year, one of the top teams in all of the league, it's not. This isn't how you do it. This isn't how you're going to get back to the postseason or win the West or whatever it is. This is just simply not how it happens. So we're going to need to find a little more consistency. We're going to need the rotation to lock in, the bullpen to lock in, and the offense to lock in. Which I believe they have the talent to do all three of those things. But they need to actually do it. Was that your kind of thing too with them? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, Ethan, tell me. Well, this is our last team, the Texas Rangers. What do you got?
Yeah, so I think the question is, when do you let go of the World Series? In the sense of, changes need to happen. The starting pitching hasn't been great. You have Jacob deGrom and then a bunch of guys who are just pitching terribly for the most part, including Evaldi and Gore, who've been underwhelming. Gore being the big guy they brought in the offseason for this rotation, Uvalde, putting up just video game numbers almost last year in a somewhat limited innings limit because he didn't pitch nearly as much as the guys in the conversation for Cy Young. And Seager's definitely struggling. Jock Peterson, it might be time to hang him up soon. Jake Berger's been brutal. I mean, I'm not saying that, you get rid of Seager or something, but like, it's time where you realize maybe Seager isn't he's not the best hitter on the team anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously that's not to say that he can't, but right now he's not, and you have to accept that.
They are currently, out of the 5 stages of grief,
yeah,
they're in the third stage. They're in the third stage right now. They're bargaining. That was their whole offseason. Like, yeah, Simeon, Gore, or get Simeon out of here. We're bringing Nimmo, Gore. They were bargaining. They were trying to wiggle their way around and try to get it back. We gotta go on to step 5 and just accept where we are.
Yeah,
accept the reality of the situation. It's done.
It's over, and that's okay.
It is okay. Listen, you got it done. You got it done. That's
you did what many
that's
can't
really,
say they did.
That's and like unironically, that's really fucking hard to do. Like, it's really fucking hard to win a World Series. Even if you build a ridiculous, you can do every single correct move as a general manager, and you can still not win a World Series with your core.
Yeah,
it can happen because it's that fucking hard to do.
Yeah,
but also at a certain point, I think we need to accept it. We need to accept the situation for what it is. This team is not a World Series contender. This team's not that great. Even coming into the year, we were like, yeah, they could be good, but like, Yeah. We can skip. We can skip the 4th step. I think we can move on to 5. We can accept what it is.
Yeah.
We can blow it up. We can say, all right, listen, we had a good run. We made it to the mountaintop. You still have some goodwill from your fan base right now. When you win a World Series, you have a certain amount of, years being shit or being mid or whatever, where you can, like, the fans are kind of cool because they're just like, whatever. Like, we got it. Right?
Yeah.
You still have some of that goodwill. So what you can do is you can make the most out of it and you can reset and try to go for another one in a few years. So, that's what y'all want to do. On that note, I think that's all that we have for today.
Yeah.
So as always, to anyone watching, listening, we thank you all for tuning in, whether it was just for a very brief bit at the start, at the end, or if you sat through the whole thing. We thank you loads. We will see you again back here next week. And as always, everyone, take care. We'll see you guys next week.